I'm going live now then, Madam Mayor.
Yes, thank you.
We are live, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular City Commission meeting of Tuesday, February 15th, 2022. And I would like them.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, thank you. Oh, we're doing
I'm
it.
sorry, there was some feedback.
Okay. Well, hold on.
We're good now.
Okay, thank you. Can you call the roll, please, ma'am?
Yes, Mayor Betty Rash,
I'm here.
Vice Mayor Herman Robinson,
Here.
Commissioner Sarah Maliga,
Present.
Commissioner Christopher McVoy is somewhere in the building. Commissioner Kimberly Stokes.
Here. Thank you. The invocation will be led by Vice Mayor Herman Robinson. Please stand.
May our efforts be blessed with insight, guided by understanding and wisdom. We seek to serve with respect for all. May our personal faith give us strength to act honestly and well in all manners before us. And I'd like to pray for the motorists and the pedestrians in Lakewood to be more safety conscious, and may their families, we mourn with them. Amen.
Thank you. Amen. And then we have the pledge led by Sarah Maliga.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, are there any additions, deletions, or reordering?
Yes, Madam Mayor, there are. So presentation A, a recognition, excuse me, of 3 District 14 PBSO deputies was added to the agenda.
Yep.
And consent item A, the proclamation for 211 Awareness Week was moved to presentation B, as we do have someone to receive it. And then the other presentations will be reordered accordingly.
Thank you very much. So consent B is now consent A, is that correct?
Yes, well, consent B is consent B, but
Okay, but that gets moved up. Okay, great, thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Motion to approve as amended.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. First, we are so blessed and so lucky to have working in our city from the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, amazing people. Let me just start with that blanket statement. Every once in a while, we have the opportunity to express our individual thanks to the work that you do. And I'm going to read this little presentation. First, we have recognition of District 14 PBSO deputies Francisco Guarcioni. Okay, thank you. And Kenneth Hernandez and William Rothman. On Thursday, January 27th, 2022 at approximately 11:17 p.m., deputies from the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office District 14 Road Patrol responded to a residential fire at 1302 12th Avenue South. Upon arrival, the deputies discovered the residential fire was contained to the second floor apartment in an 8-apartment unit building. Deputies immediately assessed the situation and made contact with the residents possibly still within the building. Deputy Kenneth Hernandez and Deputy Francesco Guarcioni, I hope that's okay, immediately began banging on doors, notifying the residents of the fire and evacuating the building. Deputy William Rothman arrived immediately after and began evacuating the ground floor, advising dispatch of the need for additional units. The fire was identified as being in apartment number 6 on the second floor. As additional deputies began to arrive, deputies Hernandez, Guarcioni, and Rothman attempted to contact any residents in the apartment 6 on the second floor. They discovered the door was still locked and the apartment appeared to be fully engulfed, with smoke coming from the door sills and window cracks. Deputy Hernandez immediately forced his way into the apartment and entered with Guarcioni and Rothman. The deputies began crawling through the apartment looking for the resident inside, where they discovered the resident standing at the doorway of a bedroom. Deputies called out to the resident, who was unresponsive to their commands and appeared to be paralyzed with fear by the fire which had started in the kitchen and was beginning to spread into the living area. Deputies Rothman and Guarcioni grabbed onto the resident, forcing him out of the apartment to the awaiting deputies outside. Deputy Hernandez conducted one additional quick sweep of the immediate area for any other residents. The resident was escorted from the apartment building to a PBSO vehicle, provided first aid and water until Palm Beach County Fire Rescue arrived. Palm Beach County Fire Rescue took over the scene and treated both the resident and the PBSO deputies involved in the incident. Deputies Hernandez, Guarascioni, and Rothman all suffered minor smoke inhalation, but were treated and released on scene. Deputies Kenneth Hernandez, Francesco Guarascioni, and William Rothman's exceptional performance, professionalism, teamwork, and most importantly, the sacrifice of their own personal safety and their quick response and life-saving efforts demonstrates the core values of a Palm Beach County Deputy Sheriff who are sworn to the citizens of Palm Beach County and Lakewood Beach. With this in mind, Lieutenant Matthew Lavinia recommended special recognition to Deputies Hernandez, Guarascioni, and Rothman of the PBSO District 14, City of Lake Worth Beach. And I thank you, Lieutenant, for bringing this to our attention and letting us know. These are the people that walk into the fire.
Literally.
These are the people that walk where the guns are being shot. And I just want to thank you and have just a moment of thank you from our city and from our folks, and thank you so much. No words, except what I said. My niece is a PBSO deputy, and I worry for her every day. She's in Boynton Beach, and I cannot express the gratitude and the admiration that we have for the sheriff's office. Thank you so much. Next, we have a tourism master plan recommendation and overview by Don Kollitz, President and CEO of Tourism Strategic Solutions.
Wait, 211.
Oh,
Proclamation.
the 201, okay, great. Okay, sorry. See, I missed that. There we go. Well, we have a proclamation. Whereas 211 Helpline is entering its 6th decade of quality and caring service to the community. And whereas over the span of time, 211 Helpline has responded to over 3 million requests for help from people of all walks of life, providing the guidance and support they've needed. 211 continues to do so through these trying times. And whereas mental and emotional health, addiction, housing, utilities, food insecurity, and health concerns are the top needs expressed by people reaching out to us. And whereas 211's caring staff continue to be that beacon of hope, providing crisis support and resources when people are overwhelmed and do not know where to turn. 211 is available anytime, day or night. And whereas 211 has specialized advocacy and support programs that include the Caregiver Support Project, the Special Needs Helpline, Help Me Grow, Catching Children's Development Delays Early, Elder Crisis Outreach. And whereas 211's life-saving sunshine daily telephone reassurance calls continue to brighten the lives of local isolated seniors and has expanded to include isolated caregivers. Whereas 211 My Florida Veterans provides peer-to-peer support and helps veterans to readjust, providing linkage to services for veterans and their families. Now, therefore, I, Betty Resch, Mayor of the City of Lake Worth Beach, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim February 11th to the 17th, 2022 as 211 Awareness Week, and urge all citizens to be aware that if they are overwhelmed, in a crisis, or just need to talk, 211 is available any time of day or night, and that 211 staff can also provide referrals for mental health counseling, substance abuse, healthcare, employment, food assistance, daycare, support groups, volunteering, VITA, free income tax preparation, and so much more. A witness whereof I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida to be affixed the 15th day of February 2022. And if you're there, people call you and they're there and people answer the phone and there's someone to talk to. And you know, what services we do have in this, and what amazing need you've probably experienced in the past 2 years. So I just want to thank you. I just want to thank you. And here's a proclamation. Would you like to say a few words?
Oh, yeah, sure,
Please. Of course. Silly me. Go ahead, there's the microphone.
Never ask.
But I'm going to tell you, that was a tough act to follow. But, you know, the staff at 211 are so dedicated. And just to remind you all, my name is Patrice Schroeder. I'm Community Relations Specialist. I'm going into my 16th year of service with 211. and I'm passionate about what we do. We save lives every day, and we work with our community partners to help those people that are in crisis. But I mean, right now, last year we answered over 100,000 requests for help. Of that, 46,000 were for mental health and substance use disorders. And of that number, 3,800 were suicidal crisis. So we know that the local medical examiner, Palm Beach County, has experienced a 31% increase in suicides, and the Treasure Coast County is a 32% increase. But what that means is the number increased by that amount. It's not as though we have several thousand people that have died, but every loss of life is a tremendous tragedy, especially when we're hearing about younger and younger people in the community. I happened to be having a conversation with a high school student that was sitting outside of an eatery with her laptop open. Since the beginning of the school year, 5 students lost their life, and that's in one high school.
Suicide.
So I think it's just really important, and I encourage everybody out in the community to really look out for each other. Because a lot of times if a person is in a very dark and depressed state, they just physically can't move forward, even to reach out for help. So whether it's a coworker, whether it's a family member, loved one, neighbor, fellow churchgoer, fellow employee, just trust your gut instinct. If you feel something's not right, reach out. They can call 211 to find out what the next steps are. And again, we're also there just for somebody to talk. So they may not want resources, they may not want to give their name, but just venting about their day can make all the difference. Now, the second highest need category we had last year was 26,000 calls for housing. Housing is driving a lot of our crisis calls right now. When we hear a $100 rent increase, $200, $500, we had one single mom call us. Her rent had been increased by $800 for this little child, 1-bedroom apartment. So this is something that we really have to, this is going to impact all of us on many levels. I know a lot of agencies are looking for employees. If people can't afford to live in the community, we can't apply for the job. So they're going to go to another state where they can make a family or it's more affordable. So I think that's something we really need to express. We've had families reach out to us that are already living in their cars now. Not that we didn't have homeless prior to the pandemic, but when we have a family reaching out, where can I take my kids to go to the bathroom? Where can I get a shower because I have to go to work tomorrow, and they're living out of their cars. So these are just things that I wanted to just identify. And of course, medical needs, people are still reaching out for the clinics and the care. But I just wanted to make a quick little shout out for our newest program. It's the Caregiver Support Project. As we know, caregivers tend to be very isolated in the work they do. It could be, these are family caregivers, so it could be anybody 18 years or older caregiving for another adult family member. We can provide supportive resources. Our counselor can reach out to them, let them know somebody's in their corner. And we can also now provide that daily sunshine call to the caregivers as well. God forbid we have a senior caregiving for another spouse that's an elderly person. We want to check in on that individual to see that they're doing okay as well. So very important program. We continue to do here, but I just wanted to thank you for really supporting this proclamation, and I'm not going to take up any more time.
No.
You give me an invite, and I can, I can 2 hours, 3 hours, but anyway. Thank you so much, and I have some materials in a little pocket outside the door here, if anybody wanted to get that. And I gave you all a little packet with the team guide, the how to build resilience, and all the other good stuff. Thank you so much.
There we go.
Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, can you stay up there so PBSO officers can get a photo with the mayor?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Get surrounded by all those good-looking men,
I know.
heroes of our city. Come on.
Okay, what are
Thank you for doing that. That's okay. Oh, I love sitting down. I do, I have to say.
You feel safe?
I feel so safe. I'm blushing.
Is Todd saying that? First time. Oh, there it is.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
He tricked me. Thank you,
How do you like that?
It's different.
It's different. You get a lot of diverse
No doubt.
experiences. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now. Oh, that's such an inspiring. Now we have a tourism master plan recommendation overview by Don Kollitz, who is the president and CEO of Tourism Strategic Solutions, who's been working with the city for the past few months with the tourism task force and staff to create a presentation, which we're going to see.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for investing time. I'm going to excuse the presentation because this is my first meeting after 2 years in person. I feel like I'm on Colbert. You know, my audience. I'm so used to doing Zoom calls.
Lift the mic and. Yeah, you need to speak into the mic.
You just hit that little like push of the slide on the right hand side bottom. That should trigger the. So my time is limited. I only have 10 minutes. So I'm going to hit the highlights of each slide.
And if you could really speak into the microphone, because people are listening at home, they need to record it.
Great, thank you. So key accomplishments is the mayor mentioned, we've been working on this initiative for 8 months. So we hosted over 30 weekly meetings with the manager of strategic projects, Jessica, who has been very valuable in this whole initiative. We assembled a task force of over 60 people. We led monthly task force meetings or committee meetings. There were 7 of them. We coordinated over 10 subject matter experts on the tourism industry to come in and talk to the task force. We conducted a SWOT analysis where we got feedback from 331 different comments, which we consolidated into the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats.
Can you tell the people?
I was just gonna say,
what is?
yeah.
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's a process you use in strategic planning. And then we partnered with Palm Beach State College, who went out and documented all of your tourism assets. Turns out you've got 196 of them. And we created and ranked the recommendations. There were 95 of them. And then we developed the tourism master plan. So why are we doing this? Again, we've got the strategic rationale. For every 100 visitors, it creates 1 job. It creates economic value. On average, a tourist will drop between $450 worth of direct impact versus $900 direct and indirect. It also helps the recovery from the pandemic. The information I'm getting from the Tourism Development Council is that 2021 was stronger than 2019. So we're on a rebound. Tourism historically has been very resilient. So
Dan, I'm sorry, this is the city clerk. I'm gonna pause you for a minute.
Okay.
Alfonso, can you hit the little button on the right? Because we still just see, at least on my screen, I'm only seeing are you seeing, is it advancing in there? Because
Yeah, we're seeing the whole.
you are,
screen.
okay, great,
Yeah.
all right. Never mind, continue,
Never
I'm
mind.
sorry.
Okay, thank you.
So we did a quick business case and we said, hey, based upon the inventory of hotel rooms that you've got versus the county, on daily, you're over 500,000. You can probably cut that in half because the analysis was based upon all the hotel rooms that have a Lakewood Beach address versus just within the city limits. But it still is $250,000 on average daily. The tourism is driving into your destination. Again, tourism is the 2nd largest driver of the economy in all of Palm Beach County. If you kind of look at the pyramid of who is focused on tourism, you've got global organizations, you've got organizations that focus on 50 states. You've got Visit Florida out of Tallahassee, who focuses on 282 cities. You've got Tourism Development Council for Palm Beach County, focuses on 39 cities, driving 8.2 million visitors. but that's where it stops. So I left Discover the Palm Beaches in March of 2020, created this LLC to really focus on the niche, which is the city. So the analogy I draw is a hurricane, that when, God forbid, we have another hurricane, we will in the future, you lose power, you go to flip your light switch, and it's the lights don't come on, that panel is off the grid. It's the same thing with tourism. Cities are waking up and saying, I need to find more jobs, I need to recover from the pandemic, and tourism is a natural fit, but they don't have the market strategy. So I've done Boynton, I'm doing Lakewood Beach, I'm doing Delray Beach, and I'm doing Riviera Beach, not only from a design standpoint, but an implementation standpoint as well. So 12-step process. The timeline, as I said, we started back in the April through August, assembling the task force. Then we had meetings every month. And we had our last one in January in anticipation of meeting with you and giving you an overview and discussing next steps. We took all of the recommendations, the 95 that we came up with, around 22% had to do with marketing, about just getting yourself on the radar screen. You've got all the assets, water sells, you've got the lagoon, you've got the ocean, you've got a potential new hotel that's going to be coming online in 2 years. So you've got, it's a diamond in the rough, and all you need to do is simply start marketing your destination, driving tourism here, and have really a plan to execute against. So we went and we ranked the recommendations from high to low, 1 to 5 scale, and these are the top 10. All the other recommendations are in the appendix. When you look at the 5s, these are what the 5s are. Like crime is down 45%. The sheriff came and spoke to the group because it was the #1 thing that came up in the SWOT analysis. Beautify the city. Of course, every city needs to be beautified. But #3 is, the Gulfstream Hotel. You need hotel inventory here. You need somebody that will come and stay at a resort, and for business or pleasure, and hopefully both. And then #5, which I thought was very encouraging, is that the task force said, we've got to continue to look at the strategic plan and the department objectives, because it calls out the need for a tourism master plan. So it's not Don coming along and saying, hey, you need a tourism master plan. Your city many years ago has realized the importance of tourism. And my job was to kind of facilitate by creating a task force and putting together these recommendations. If we combine the 4 and 5 scales, a couple things pop out. Destination strategy, sure, social media is being optimized. You've got in 2 weeks or so, you've got your chalk festival. What are those mediums that you're using? And again, there's 39 cities in Palm Beach County. There's only a dozen of them that have tourism assets. So we've got best practices right in our backyard. And it's the only industry I've ever worked in where I can call any city in the United States and say, hey, I hear you got the best visitor information center. What are you doing? And they will share with us, because most of the information is sunshine law, so it's public anyway. So there's a large degree of collaboration. So in terms of an implementation plan, you go from what I refer to playing architect into general contractor, so you can start to build out the plan. The worst thing that can happen is this blueprint for success that 61 people have put together sits on the shelf and it's not action, because they're looking for their return on investment of time that they put in to create this. So this wasn't Don's plan. I did this intentionally by building consensus, if you will, with the community and with all the major tourism stakeholders. I brought 14 people into the task force that are all at the TDC. TDC has
What's the TDC?
TDC Tourism Development Council.
Thank you.
For Palm Beach County, has over 100 employees, operating budget of $58 million to promote tourism. But their charter is just Palm Beach County. It's not Lakewood Beach. So that's where the kind of the model falls apart. But they are doing a lot where we can bolt on very cost effectively things that they're doing, because they've got partnership programs. So I'm all about creating momentum cost effectively and getting the boat out of the slip. All right, so we're going to take baby steps. We're not doing calculus, we're doing basic math. We're going to start out slow. You don't have to build anything other than the hotel. You don't need a Ferris wheel. You don't need the Eiffel Tower. You've got tons of things. We just have to, put them on the radar screen so people can look. I drove here on A1A And I'm driving along and going, wow, Lakewood Beach has a golf course on there.
Yeah.
Who else can say that? I mean, so again, you've got the stock there. We need to do an IPO using tourism as a trigger. So let me get to this is the implementation plan. This is an example of what I've done with other cities. I've done the same model, come in, develop the blueprint, and then we implement. So I'm very involved right now with Riviera Beach implementing, websites and destination marketing plans. The beauty of that is the learnings that I'm getting from these other cities, I can import into your city at really no cost to you. It's just a learning. And then, so next steps. So the next steps are you need to establish a budget and you need to establish a key point of contact. I use Riviera Beach. We established a budget around $15,000 to implement what we're doing there. So it's not, I had a call with a commissioner from Riviera Beach yesterday and he said, well, how much does this cost? A couple $100,000? And it's not. It's really cost effective for your return on investment in terms of getting tourists into the destination. So we will create a tourism implementation plan. And one of the things, the deliverables are create a website for you, develop a destination marketing plan, have the Tourist Development Council agencies partner with them, and then assemble a task force, a tourism committee. So we had 61 people on the task force. I'm not suggesting that we have 61 people on a tourism committee, probably 20, but these are the key stakeholders. With David Lawrence of the CEO of the Cultural Council, Lee Lipton, who runs things on the beach, Emmerich, who's a proposed investor here in your community. So what we want is we want the people, plus we want residents, because tourism has an ancillary benefit. Because when tourists come here, they're looking at the destination for potentially buying real estate, or they're starting a business here. So tourism is a lead generator. And usually this kind of reports into an economic development role. The city currently doesn't have that. But as you look at in your new role, Carmen, your organizational structure, who will really lead your tourism strategy? Because I need a dance partner. I need someone who's passionate about tourism to make sure that the city is engaged at all levels, because your employees can act as apostles to recommend the destination to friends and family. So what I'll do is I'll submit a proposal and then advise the task force of next steps once I get the feedback from you all. I think
You're out of time. Oh, look at how perfect. How perfect.
that was my goal.
Thank you.
10 minutes.
Well done.
I didn't think I could do it.
Thank you very much. This has been, we walked in and this had already been, taken under, and I'm glad that had happened. I just want to say one thing where we talk, two things that you and I spoke yesterday. When we talk about 473 hotel rooms in Lakewood Beach, we're talking about,
Hampton Inn.
no, we're not talking about the Hampton Inn. We're talking about Federal Highway. We're talking about Dixie Highway.
The 31 hotels.
Yeah. And I think this is an excellent opportunity to point out how important the Gulf Stream is to the furtherance of the movement of our city.
Absolutely.
I mean, we have no, we can say that the hotels on Federal Highway are hotels, but they're actually living with the housing shortage. It's a whole different story now. So I just think this really underlines the importance of the Gulf Stream happening. In our city, we would have then a destination. We can have daytime trips right now, come to the city and see the murals and see Endowment and see these different things, but go home to someplace else. So I'm very encouraged by this. And we need to get marketing. We are notoriously undermarketed. We had a pool that nobody went to the pool, because if you didn't know there was a pool there, we weren't going to tell you. So thank you very much. And then I guess we'll get a proposal and we'll get it.
I just have one thing, in the future, don't reference FPL. When the lights go out.
As you guys do your own.
Okay, well, we'll blame FPL anyway.
And I
Thank you.
City of Lakewood Beach has got good reliability.
The importance of our oceanfront park, that we have a park on the ocean that I don't know how many other cities do, but
Right.
ours is very important. Don't you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that there's business intelligence, like we mined the data from the parking meters. and what surprised me is people from Wellington think that this is their beach. So they're driving from out west. So again, we'll put a business intelligence system in place to monitor our tourism. But it's not just a one-year initiative. This is really a 5-year play. It's a strategic plan, and we're going to put it on like a dimmer switch, but we need resources.
Do you think the county, do you
Financial.
think the county will recognize it as a county asset as well?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. So thank
We have,
you.
Commissioner McVoy has a comment or question?
Both a comment and a question. The question is, in your plan, did you do any sort of quantitative accounting of the vacation rentals or Airbnb or short-term rentals, of which we have a lot? There are issues, but there are a lot, and a lot of people stay in those. Did that factor into your plan?
We looked at how many Airbnbs. We think there's around 300 units that are available, but again, that changes almost on a daily
It's
basis.
hard to
of
know.
People
That was yesterday.
pulling inventory in and out. But again, one of the things that we're finding out, not just in Lakewood Beach, but every city that we're working with, is a lack of process for distributing information to visitors that are visiting in real time. Cities are interested in getting them here, and then they just walk away and they focus on the next crowd that's coming. Big mistake. I'm working with the chief operating officer of the Palm Beach County Concierge Association. There's 25 of them throughout Palm Beach County. We're doing a needs analysis. We're going to start in Riviera Beach, and we're going to call every condo, we're going to call every hotel, we're going to call every timeshare, and find out what they use to source recommendations for visitors on what to do here. When I was with Discover, I always called Palm Beach County the Wikipedia of tourism assets. 160 golf courses, 47 miles of beach, polo, you name it, we've got it. You don't have to go to any other county bigger than the state of Delaware. You need to just stay here. And that's kind of what we want to do. They have a mindset for Lakewood Beach. We don't want you to go to Boca. We don't want you to go to West Palm Beach. We want you to stay here. And that means we have to build itineraries that are best things to do this week. And we can use QR codes,
Right.
and we can start leveraging that technology tomorrow, not next year. So there's some low hanging fruit that we can pick off and deploy quickly, because I'm thinking fourth quarter of this year.
Mhm.
That's when, so I got 6 months to start to gear up to drive that economic value.
Fabulous.
And the other comment is, we have the intercoastal in addition to the oceanfront park, which is a big deal. We also have the intercoastal. We have put in, well, we haven't, but the county has mangrove islands, and there's a lot of interest in kayaking. As we continue that effort, it's worth thinking about some sort of maze or other way of letting kayakers go underneath some of that mangrove. It's an amazing experience when you find it down in the Keys or up in MacArthur Park, but with some thought that could be done here as part of the environmental restoration. Can also be a tourism draw.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Seeing no other lights, thank you very much. Good talking to you. We'll look forward to your proposal. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. And now we have a presentation by Friends of the Library, and our friend Sam Goodstein is about to give it. Good evening.
Good evening. I see a giant tarantula.
I know, it's scary.
It took me a minute. I'm like, is that part of the tourism? No, that's not part of the tourism. Sam Goodstein, president of the Friends of the Lakewood Library. And I apologize, we're not beach yet. We have to change our bylaws. So you know how that is. It takes a while to get the wheels rolling. The Friends of the Library is a single-purpose organization. As you will see in our slide, takes the place of that giant tarantula.
Mhm.
Our singular purpose is to support the mission of the library of the city of Lakewood. And to that end, we, as you know, you're about to go into a budget cycle. So what do? You guys are gonna, you love the budget cycle. Look, everyone smile. Yeah. You guys are going to slice and dice for several months and In the end, a few of the things that the library does not ask for or does ask for will end up on the cutting block. And we are the mortar in the wall of bricks that is the budget for the library of the city of Lakewood. When there's a bookshelf or a rolling cart or a staff day or something that we can fill in, the library comes to us and says, well, you know, we wanted to do this year, it didn't get it funded. We help fund it. And everybody got mine? Yes, okay,
Yeah.
we're here. It's not working. Anyway, we have children's programs and sometimes we supplement to fund those. We have things like, oh yeah, that's our beautiful new logo.
Love it.
You see the old logo
Yeah,
designed by a woman whose name I can't place, very like 60s, 70s, maybe even 50s. But
that's cool.
the new
Love
one's
that.
modern.
Yeah.
And in, 10 years from now, I can't even tell you what a logo will look like. This is a picture of the library before it was built. And the Friends of the Library, the Little Free Library program came out of the Friends of the Library. As you know, we have the Little Free Library. All my slides are not in a great order. We have more Little Free Libraries than any place on earth,
Really.
the city of Lakewood.
Shout out to Mary Lindsay
Yeah, shout out, absolutely. A shout out to Mary Lindsay. That's her program.
and her helpers
And all the stewards, yeah.
and all the stewards.
But everything starts with funding, and the Friends did that. More than half our citizens have library cards. Isn't that amazing?
That's
Good.
wonderful.
That's
That speaks
amazing.
to the literacy and the importance of literacy in our town.
Wow.
The Friends fills the budget gaps. And to that end, find the arrow going in the right direction or not. That's our library card. We do also things like that come up spontaneously that are not budget related. In the Osborne neighborhood, when there was space on the wall and they were looking to fill the wall with things that were related to the history of Lake Worth and the things that were important to Lake Worth, we stepped up and said, we'll help you with that. And we funded an artist to make this lovely picture of the library and the Little Free Libraries. And I believe those are hibiscus flowers, which used to be on that seal up there,
Mhm.
but got taken off. I don't know when. The images of the library throughout the years, but supporting it in the future. That library, so beautiful, was built by a public fund drive. The citizens got together to build that, to fund it, which made sense. The library started out as a shared book club. 1 year before the city was built, 1912. The leading ladies of Lakewood got together and formed a lending club. Now, what are we doing right now? We have three big things going on. And one stems from a sad little piece of history, which is the Simpkin Trust Fund. In 1994, the Simpkin family donated $600,000 to the library, to the city, to help with the library. And for a decade or 15 years, we were able to use it to fund things like the book collection, the new purchases of new materials. For many years was the largest expense besides personnel in the budget. And it was a great resource to have for the city, a great resource to have for the library. Unfortunately, when the global financial crisis came around, the city was in dire straits, and the Simpkin Trust Fund was used to fund the library, but it was drawn down, and it's only got a few $1,000s left in it. And the problem that makes for the library is, if I know somebody who wants to give a gift to the library, I have to be straight with them and say, there's really no place you can give a gift, you could give it to the city, but we have this history. And so one of the three big things that we're doing right now is we are forming an endowment with the Community Foundation of Palm Beach and Martin counties. And what this will allow is if people want to give large gifts or end-of-life gifts, we will have a place where we can say, we have this set up as an easy way to do it. The Community Foundation does all the back-end work for us. They have all the structures set up to manage the money. And the Friends decided that it was a good thing to have because it will allow us in a couple of years to help with that filling in the mortar after the budget cycle, after you guys have done that, you're very conscientious and beautiful slicing and dicing. The reality is that.
He's so charming when he says that.
Well, the other limitation our library has is it's a city library. And with the county system, the county looks at Lake Worth and says, the county library in Lantana Road covers, we're in their service district. So in order to have a city library, it has to be budgeted by the city. So some people sometimes wonder about that.
Yeah.
So we're building our endowment bit by bit. When we reach 50,000, it will actually turn into an endowment rather than a one investment fund. And at first, 50,000 seemed large to us, but you reason it out. It's 50 donations of 1,000, 100 donations of.
500.
No, it's not 100 donations of 500.
500 and
Yes,
five,
okay.
yeah, 100
That's
at
right.
500.
I get it 4 months. Okay. Anyway, you break it down as a community, it's something we can do. And so we're out asking people, hey, what can you give? Some people in this very room have pledged donations, and we're very grateful to everybody at every level that can support. The other thing going on, when you see the street painting festival, we are going to have a little used bookstore in the former city commission room in the annex. And when we say used, we mean lightly used and high quality.
Yeah.
There's another thing that we benefit from. The county no longer takes book donations. So the Friends of the Lakewood Library is the only place people can donate their books right now in the county.
Love it.
And although we don't have a great storage capacity, we do have a vigorous set of standards. So when you see the books in our bookstore, you'll say, those aren't used, but they are.
And it's, from my understanding, it's cookbooks and art books and like interesting books.
We have a great collection of art books that was donated 2 years ago. And the book sale has always been our traditional fundraiser. And with street painting, it's a great thing because you have people coming from everywhere. And when they come in to see the bookstore, they're going to get a triple threat. Triple threat's not right. Triple reward, because the bookstore will be there. Our outstanding city museum will be there, the Lakewood Historical Museum. Let me plug them. If you haven't been there, the Historical Museum is now open 1 to 4 Fridays and Saturdays. So it's going to be 2 days a week. The bookstore will be open Saturday and Sunday during the Street Painting Festival. Usually it's just going to be Saturdays, 1 to 4. The third thing that is going on, and some of you may have one of these already, the Friends has a little library card. And this is a library card which you can use to check out your books. And you can use it to get benefits at places around town. Various merchants have agreed to give, and it's all on the website, but they give a little bonus when you come there. It's kind of like a taste of Lake Worth,
Yeah.
which is coming up the night before Street Painting Festival. Places like Eldup Subs, our Lake Worth Herald, the Upper Crust, all these places you can get a little bonus when you have your member card, the Friends of the Lake Worth Library. Oh, check out card. Anyway, so those are the three things. We're working on our endowment. We have a bookstore. We have a Friends membership card. When you join the Friends.
How much is it to join the Friends of the Library?
$20.
A bargain.
That's like lunch, right? Well, maybe not lunch, lunch and a soda, and a soda. Soda and a soda.
Mayor, I'm sorry, time is up. If you want Mr. Goodstein to continue.
I'm complete.
He's done. He's done a great job. There was a movement a number of years ago to allow the county to take over our library, which was successfully fought. Because if we would have completely lost our library, it would have been just pieces.
Yes, and the
I'm glad we did.
location is
Oh,
the best thing about the library.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Thank you to the Friends.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Sam and all his friends. Libraries need friends. We, as a city, have to recognize that we're the parent of the library.
Yep.
And parents are even more important than friends.
They stay here.
It's just say married. Commissioner McCoy.
Wonderful. I'm a huge fan of books and libraries, and I might even look through some of mine and grudgingly let a few loose to put into the sale. But a comment, and not that you have extra resources and things like that, but I would always like to see a little bit of an expansion of the library in the direction of maker spaces where kids can do some work on things with their hands and making things, whether it's electrical, which happens to be my thing, but historical. I'm already talking with the Walter from the museum about some things we could do with that. So keep that in mind. Maker spaces are happening and they're often located in the library. University of Florida has one right as you go in the door. So a little different than the usual library, but it's something that is very relevant as technology becomes more and more a part of our life, and kids need to be learning about that.
We do have a Create Lab, which is kind of the equivalent of the teen zone that they have at the county libraries, which is a space with desks of various heights and spaces for kids to work on projects together.
It's the right direction. Sounds
It
good.
sounds like the maker spaces might be a good fit with that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good to see you always. Next, we have. I didn't see Joanne there. Hi, Joanne. Okay, next we have the Street Painting Festival from staff.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. For the record, Lauren Bennett, Director of Leisure Services. And here with me tonight, I have Enric Jeancombe. He's our Special Events Manager, and I wanted to share this presentation with him tonight. So grab your calendars and save the date. The upcoming 2022 Lakewood Beach Street Painting Festival is coming to town on Saturday, February 26th and Sunday, 27th. This will be the first time ever in its entirety that the city will be fully producing the show. And the 2022 Street Painting Festival this year is proudly presented by, drum roll,
Yeah.
iHeart Media, which is going to be 4 radio stations: Wild 95.5, Mia 94.3, Gator 98.7, and 92.1 Real Radio. The Palm Beach Post, WPTV News Channel 5, our very own Lakewood Beach Electric Utilities, Flagler Bank, Rosenthal Levy, Simon & Sosa, South Florida Podiatry, Lakewood Beach T-shirt Company, the Lakewood Beach CRA, and Discover the Palm Beaches.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So some fun facts for you guys. We do claim the bragging rights as the world's largest festival of its kind. And our goal will be one day to go for the Guinness World Record.
course it will.
This, this year's show will actually host 25 plus featured artists, 60 plus schools and organizations, 600 plus artists throughout the 2 days, 48 gallons of tempura, which is that base that you see the artists put down on the street, and over 22,000 pieces of chalk. And a fun fact, we're also gonna have 15,000 ounces of hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
We have a Facebook event page, and we've been highlighting some of our featured artists that are gonna be coming. The lady in the middle is actually coming from Georgia, as is the gentleman, Sharon Chan is gonna be joining us from California. But I just wanted to give a shout out to these artists because they are what makes the show, and we are dropping like their bios. So if you wanted to see who else is coming, give us a follow on that piece. And then the main stage, which is proudly presented by Lakewood Beach Electric Utilities. Thank you for powering the arts. This is our lineup. We have 2 different stages. We have the main stage, which is going to be at the Cultural Plaza, and then there's going to be a satellite bistro on J Street, right across from the post office. And then just getting social. So all 4 of the radio stations have been not only airing the ad for the event, but they've also put it on their website. And yes, the meal one is in Spanish. Where Tri-Rail is going to host our posters as well as rack cards. They're sharing it all over their social media. And then below is the actual I-95 billboard that's been designed. And
Fabulous.
it's actually live.
Ben designed it?
Yeah, he did. It looks really
Beautiful.
good.
It's amazing.
And then there's 2 ways for encouraging people to come to the show, just because parking is so limited. The first is the Tri-Rail. You can take the Tri-Rail. The city is providing a shuttle bus, so you can get right off, take the bus, will be dropped right off at City Hall. And the second is going to be park and ride straight from Palm Beach State College. Your car will be securities hired, so you don't have to worry about that. And you can get shuttled back and forth as much as you want. I just want to thank my team for taking on this enormous effort. It's a very big event, and I do want to thank, the mayor and the commission for giving us the opportunity to produce this signature event in Palm Beach County.
And the fact that you all have set up people don't understand what our leisure services department does. Cheerfully, happily, with smiles on their faces, even if it's Sunday afternoon in the hot sun of the rain.
And let me just ask, when did you officially find out you
Yeah.
had this on your calendar? That this was gonna be our responsibility? What was that date again?
6 months ago.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it was
So
great.
kudos to you guys.
Yeah, but, we want to thank Marion and Aaron and the people that worked with them for 28 years for creating this amazing event and for handing it over to us in such a, my understanding is a very organized way. We have all the information. So shout out to you guys and thank you so much. for all
You
you
said you needed an assistant. Just kidding.
No, it's exciting.
I think you need 3.
Ms. Davis.
We talk about that assistant, boy, we probably could take it another step higher, couldn't we, Lauren?
So she needs 3.
But I wanted to personally also say thank you so much to you, Lauren, and your team, Emery, and the rest of the wonderful job you're doing. This is not Lauren and Emery, they have a smile on their face right
All the
now.
time.
But if you watch behind the scenes, this is not an easy task. And to live up to the standard of this program over the years, I believe they're gonna show us proud, and I thank you all.
I have no doubt.
Absolutely.
And hope, and
Is there anything that you need from us,
I was
the dais, to help?
Just promotion.
volunteers.
We just ended our sign up for it because we have to have background checks for our volunteers. So we have a few, thank you to our volunteers, and we're gonna backfill with staff. So luckily other departments get to work events with us.
And that's what's the most fun.
It is
It
fun.
really is. It's an amazing, and volunteering there, when you have a role, when you have a job, something to do, it's better, to me, it's better than just wandering around. I'd rather have a job. Well, thank you so much, and we're looking forward to it, and pray for good weather.
Ms.
Thank you.
Beckett?
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Boyd.
Wonderful. I'm amazed that you're still here and still smiling when somebody handed you this, because I imagine it's a pretty huge organizational undertaking.
Yes, sir.
I would not be scared at all. I would run out of town and next be seen in California, but, so thank you for what you're doing. Only question that I have is that although we like to think we're out of the woods on COVID, we don't seem to be 100% there. How do we deal with that with, things get pretty concentrated as people get enthusiastic and want to be in there? Do we have any sort of steps besides the 15,000 ounces? I got the number of hand sanitizer. Do we have any other things?
Yeah, so as event staff, we actually plan worst first and we think backwards. So our first step in actually initiating the plan for this event, I sat with fire rescue and PVSO first and said, logistically, what works for you? And I'm gonna build this event around you guys. And then the third piece was COVID. Okay, how do I safely bring in artists and patrons and do it in a way that everybody kind of feels like, okay, I can hang out here for a little while. So what we've done is incrementally throughout the section of the artists, we've purposely left spaces open that would have had artists. That's going to not only have COVID signs, but it's going to allow for a gap to hopefully alleviate not only the pressure of people outside the stanchions, but also kind of give the artists a little bit of freedom. There's going to be hand sanitizing stations at every single block of the event. We have hand washing stations outside of the blocks as well. There is a ton of COVID signage. One sign is actually bigger than Emmerich and I together, and it is trilingual. So that's kind of the plan. We have talked about if it was possible to make sidewalks one way. The event
No, you can't.
logistically is too large. But we're have reminders and we're gonna have hand sanitizer bottles and masks on every single table and booth at the event.
And people can mask if they feel like they want to mask. I mean, listen, we just had Super Bowl. I didn't see a lot of masks in that stadium. So, but it's certainly a concern. Commissioner Liga.
No, Ms.
Oh,
Sanders on first.
sorry.
Yes, thank you for doing this in such a quick amount of time. I just had a question if there were other types of challenges that you have faced. I've heard from a few business owners that things have changed this year for them, and some of them aren't happy about it because
Fees.
not the fees, but just having access to like open up their shop and put tables out. And this is the time of year where they make a lot of money.
Right.
And I think somebody said due to the placement of fire trucks or something like that. So I'm just, if we could give us some clarity into the challenges, because I'm sure it's not.
Yeah, that's actually not a new challenge.
Yeah.
The issue is we get a lot of illegal pop-up vendors that pop up right in the public right of way. And I actually witnessed this happen 2 years ago at a street vending festival. We had an illegal pop-up. We had a huge emergency at the event. Fire rescue could not get through to this person because this vendor was in the way. So we also have been working with the fire marshal because safety is our #1 priority when we put on an event. And it's not to hinder the businesses, it's just to protect everybody that's coming. So it's more of like a stay on your property because we have so many people coming in. We have an issue with dogs too, like
Yeah.
people bring their leashes.
We should,
I was just gonna ask.
dogs, it is not a place to, I'm a dog lover. It is, dogs get nervous and scared and their feet get hot.
They get
And they're
stepped
looking
on.
up at people. It's not a fair place
They get
Yeah.
stepped
to
on.
bring your dog.
We've been pushing a notice basically saying like, other than service animals, please don't bring your pets.
It's just not good for the pet.
We've all tripped over leashes because they're just, trying to navigate around people. Challenges honestly would just be, I was 6 months behind in planning when I got the notice that we were taking the event over. That's probably the biggest one. I have to say, to citywide, all the departments have stepped up to help whatever we need. Finance has been pushing it through for us pretty quickly. And all the artists have been extremely helpful and supportive. And I cannot say how many times they have said, thank you for not letting this event die. And we are so excited it's back.
Thank you.
Yes,
And
thank you
thanks
on
Sam
behalf.
for not letting this event die. It's our signature thing and from all of us, we thank you. We love you. You're great.
I would like to think maybe for next year, if there's a way for some of the businesses who are there in downtown, they see all these people coming in and they just don't happen to have the perfect access spot like some other businesses. If there's a common area or some way that we can help support them by allowing them to take advantage of all the work that you're doing.
Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, I'd
Yep,
just like to say
sorry.
that they're in their promotional flyer, they have invest, promote, and advertise, and that's what we're doing, and they're doing a great job. And
No, we're very fortunate. Okey doke. Commission liaison reports and comments. Commissioner McVoy.
Main thing that I wanted, a couple of things, but the main one I want to report on is that Commissioner Malega has taken the initiative to try to help us with an issue in the city that's been around for a while, but seems to have gotten a little more challenging, and that's with our cemeteries and how do we manage them. So I happened to go, I don't know, a week and a half ago about to one of the meetings. Somebody had made a good arrangement to bring in somebody who had expertise. This is something that particularly concerns folks from the Lake Osborne community, some of whom still live there, some of them who no longer live there, but still have very strong family ties. And the cemeteries are pretty important to them. So I took notes from that. I developed up a list of questions that people seem to have raised and forwarded all that on to the city manager to try and get us some information for all of us to figure out how best do we move forward on that. So I wanted to let you know. The only other thing I'll report on is, as many of you know, we had an electric utility meeting in January, and there was an issue that the community for a long time has been very enthusiastic about lifting the cap or moratorium on rooftop solar. And there was a resolution presented at that meeting that initially looked like it might do that. In fact, in practice, it doesn't really accomplish that. But there was an issue with that came up. I posted something about it on Facebook. The mayor commented, and then I foolishly,
I did not comment until you asked me a question. So I just want to make that clear.
Okay, anyhow, both of us were on there. I asked a question about, could we, because of the level of interest in the community and some of the activity in Tallahassee, could we add that to the upcoming electric meeting because a proposal was made to remove the cap. And I realized, what am I doing? Don't ask that question. It wasn't about content, but it was about procedure. Could we put that on? I just wanted to make sure that people know that that was potentially, I wanted to check with our attorney to make sure we're all okay and everything is fine. We could continue to move forward. Okay.
Which my response was, we can't talk about this.
Which was a very good response.
And I think by Commissioner Roy mentioning it publicly, made all sunshine bright, eliminated, there was even a question, so.
Yeah, I was frankly shocked myself, but okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay, that's it.
Yep.
Okay, Commissioner Liga.
I'll keep it brief. We had a cleanup at Sunset Ridge this past weekend, and it was unfortunately not very well attended, but we did pick up a lot of garbage on North G and 10th Avenue. We also had a cleanup previous Saturday that we had the unveiling of the manatees and the recycled art project. We are working on getting recycled containers out there next to the art project. I know that staff is working on that. Healthier Lakewood Beach is going to be doing a presentation to the city to show what it's done over the last 5 years, where the $2 million has been invested and spent. So look for that. Will be, I think, the second week of March is what we're looking for with the city commission meeting. And as Commissioner McVoy did just previously state, he is helping me in the community navigate the waters without us violating sunshine. We did have a community meeting 2 weeks prior to that, where we had a very, very good attendance of over 50 people. The mayor came and sat in on that as well. And we're just trying to make sure that we let this be a community-led initiative, not where politicians and municipalities are telling the community what it needs. We just want to hear from the community, and we're gonna navigate that together and get some more answers. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Robinson. The suspense.
all right, I don't have a lot of long comments, but I want to mention the Bryant Park grass area is being protected from excessive use. caused by some of the soccer players that are there on Sundays, maybe demonstrating that we need more soccer fields. And glad that we're going to get recycling bins that our amenities are emphasizing. Going to just mention the education of Black History Month. I've been seeing it on TV, and what our community, Ted Brownstein and his interfaith have put together this month has been fantastic, educationally and community wise. I've got to mention a neighbor in bordering Bryant Park and South Palm Park, and the inconsiderate behavior of people having, in fact, a business probably that flaunts all the rules and regulations and just common courtesy to their neighbors. And I would hope that that really does cease in the future. It's unfortunate that the property lends itself to large parties, but it's an abuse of civil discourse, of civil behavior. The city does need to advertise the music, the free music in Bryant Park on Sundays from 3 to 5. I'm looking forward to a discussion and maybe a vote on proposing a business development board when we start to establish boards. I want to mention Lake Park and their grant success of $11 million for water flooding and retention, and for a community of 8,500 people. Whoever their grant writer is, I would hope we could learn from that process. I want to mention Parkland and the remembrance of the gun violence that is just insane in our country, and the legislation that allows it. The lack of legislation that doesn't address mental health and gun ownership. It's a failure on all our parts not to bring the recognition of guns and the murder that happens every day. I would just hope that some legislatures in Tallahassee and in the country and nationally, federally, develop some sort of a spine to stand up and recognize that weapons of war aren't a requirement to live peacefully. The 211, again, we recognize the human infrastructure in our country as being the most important. The grants to stop flooding is one thing, but the human infrastructure that we need to take care of our elderly and mental health issues is the most important. I also want to remind the citizens that we have a joint meeting on the 23rd, and whether we'll be able to make any decisions or votes at that meeting, have real production and cooperation between those two, the commission and the CRA. That was my brief but spectacular comments.
Brief. Thank you. And you brought some points up that I'm going to follow up on. Thank you. Commissioner Stokes.
The one thing I've been focusing on the last few weeks, I've just been meeting with our county commissioners, County Commissioner Dave Kerner, Commissioner Greg Weiss and Matt Bernard to talk about how we can best partner to serve our residents in the area where I'm most focused on with the social issues with, like we've seen, addiction and mental health, homelessness, all that stuff. Suicide is all going to continue to increase as we see the financial pressure on our residents increase. So I want to make sure that we're prepared to deliver the services and provide access to our residents that the county provides at 211. Helps direct people to, that people just don't know where to go. And 211 is great if you know about it. So I think we can definitely partner. All three of them seem very excited to work with us and that they want to be real partners with us because we're closer to the needs of the residents and we'll be helping them do their job better.
That's great.
So those were all very productive, happy meetings for just the first of many to come, I'm sure. I have heard from a couple of different business owners and I'm trying to let them know when they are upset about our credit card fees and how we had to charge multiple times for those larger bills. And it's something that I think we need to continue keeping our eye on and potentially revisit in the future because unfortunately we did get not such a great deal that other, the courthouses and stuff don't have those kind of fees. It's like a one-time small fee. So that's something that's constantly on my mind there. And we'll just keep an eye on that as we move forward. That's it for now.
Thank you. Well, this past week was a busy one for Ms. Davis and Sarah Maliga and myself. We went up to Tallahassee. It's the legislative week. It was Palm Beach County Days. And it was a very good educational experience because, we met with a lot of different people. We shook a lot of hands and we asked for, we're asking for funding specifically this go around for the Parrot Cove water in the 72-inch outfalls that the water can't come back in. It's a matching grant. It would have to be a matching grant. We asked for $450,000 and fortunately, right, and when we left on Thursday, we were pretty much promised 225, but hopefully if there's like extra money that we can get, it would bring it up to the 450, which then we would still have to match. Which also though, so it was very interesting and we learned, it's very funny because you think, do you have to go up there and like meet them and shake their hands and ask them for money? And you do. If you're not there, you're not there. It's the most interesting thing. And we sat and listened to some of the Senate and some of the House debating and watched as $28 million was taken away from the Palm Beach County school system because we had a mask mandate, which was a little disturbing. And following up on Vice Mayor Robinson's comment, that I was a little alarmed, good for Lake Park, but they got $11 million to stem road floods in Lake Park. And this is something that I've been speaking with staff about, and I've been speaking on the dais a little bit about, we are the best kept secret. We have a great ability to not let people know what we have to offer or to ask for things that we need. Pool the example, if you don't know it's there, you're not going to find out. And I believe that we need to be more creative, more assertive, more, I don't want to say aggressive in finding grants, different grants.
Intentional.
I'm sorry?
Intentional.
Intentional, that's a good word. In finding grants, we funded a grant writer. We don't have that person on staff yet. And here's a thought that I had, and I'm looking for consensus. We have, and people have approached me as I meet people in the city. We have a very talented pool here in the city. And we have people that have approached me that are grant writers, very experienced grant writers in different areas. And so I'm wondering if, depending on whether we have a grant writer or not, is it something, I'm looking to the attorney, I'm looking to the city manager, is it something that we could do and say, listen, here's a person that knows how to write a grant to get federal money for funding for floods. Can we strike a deal with them personally? They come to us, they say, here's the grant, I found a grant, I was digging and I found a grant, and here's a grant I think that would be good for the city. If we approve that grant and say, okay, and find out what the standard is for a grant writer, if you get a grant, you get a percentage of it. I just feel like we got to get out there. And I see our city attorney.
Any options for grant writers, whether it's staff or whether it's contractors, but they're not allowed to have success fees. So they can't take a percentage of what they get in.
So it's a flat fee for what the work that they do?
It's a flat fee, and then obviously you evaluate if they're bringing home the bacon,
Right.
you're gonna continue with them, and if not, you're gonna switch to somebody else. So generally want to do some research on people who've been successful grant writers,
Right.
and not just grant writers, but grant obtainers.
Yeah.
You know, I can write a great grant, but I'm not gonna get you a nickel.
Right.
I'm a great writer.
So, and there would be a way, I would think, that we could find out what sort of standard fee for X amount of, you know, if you're looking for $100,000, is there a standard fee for that? I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I mean, they were set, I'll defer.
Perhaps our city manager does.
Oh, I was gonna say, Mayor, if you are approached or you know of those who are great grant writers, direct them to
I'm gonna do that.
me. And so we can work with them, you know, vet them out, as our attorney has said, to find out what their track record is and what they've done in the past, and we can vet them out, check out what they've done, and we can work out something from that point.
Yeah,
You're welcome, because it is very hard to find a grant writer. You know, we have a position open, and certainly it's very difficult. It's hard.
and some people are more attracted to art grants. Some people are more attracted to water grant. I mean, there's just so many different
That's right.
things to expect one person to know.
That was it, that's not bad. I noticed that some schools, like, for example, Martin County, they're really big into grants that are gonna help with septic and sewer.
Right.
Help with water issues. They just got awarded $3.4 million last week. So, you know, that's their focus. Other cities may, well, Glade focuses on streets. They've gotten $1 million a year for years on side streets within their community. So you have to, you do have to focus. If you try to go 7 directions at once, you're probably not going to get much. But 1 or 2, what are your key areas, and find the grant writer / lobbyist, because there's a bit of both involved in that. Then, there's money out there.
Yeah, and I just think that we need to start asking for it and being more aggressive about
And
it.
our departments, so we also have our departments seeking grants and also researching grants as well. And so we're gonna dig deeper and emphasize it more.
Yeah, because when I was in Washington a couple of weeks ago, the federal government was like, we love this money. We want to give it to cities, not counties. We want to give it directly to you. And so I started looking at some of the websites. The application was January. The application was last November. Where have we? I just want to start.
Always on top. It's their job. They got to be on top of it every day, reading and saying, okay, and then getting with the city. We need to apply for this grant. It's for this much money. You have to devote this much staff time to do it, because they're going to have staff that needs to be involved to gather the data that support the grant.
Do I have a consensus that we should be a little more active in getting money?
I'd like to make a comment in terms of consensus versus policy and procedure and a process. You know, we all agree that we want to do more grant writing, but how, you know, at some point, who's going to be in control of the process, the procedure, the policy?
So we'll work out with the city manager. That's what I'm going to direct.
Okay. And we can go out for specific grants. We don't have to hire a general grant writer. Is that?
Well, that's what we funded last year. We funded a grant writer.
Need someone?
Well, or we could advertise specifically for individual grants. And then the question is, can we, in the agreement with the grant writer, if we don't get it, can that agreement say that there won't be any payment?
No, I think that's.
No, nobody works for free.
No,
It's not exactly.
Not fair.
It's based on success, so.
Right. Well, and that's why the manager pointed out that we would find out what success they have.
On a percentage basis, we were talking about a percentage.
And I was corrected.
Success.
I'm 100% in favor of us putting more energy into looking into grants. I completely agree with the mayor that it looks like there's definitely stuff out there that goes wasting because people just don't know about it or don't do it. Sometimes there is a capacity aspect. Most grants have requirements of follow through and accountability, and we have to make sure that we can do that. I would echo a little bit Commissioner Robinson's concern that, you know, I might know 6 excellent grant writers, but I would feel quite uncomfortable simply approaching them and saying, hey, you know, we need grant, you know. I think we need to have some sort of, we should either advertise, and it doesn't have to be for a position, it might be for contract work, but there should be an advertising and a professional solicitation process rather than me just saying, hey, I've got Joe here who's, well,
We've got a lot of very talented people in this
I
city.
actually looked at it today online. I looked at our jobs that are posted, and it's on there, 65,000 starting salary.
You have it posted,
Yeah.
advertised.
5 years, I think, experience, bachelor's degree. I mean, I looked at all the requirements because I think all of our heads are in the same space.
and I guess that I would say that I suspect people's expertise at getting them will be quite subject area specific. Somebody's good at getting art grants may be totally useless at stormwater grants and vice versa.
Yeah, that's why I pointed that out earlier.
So-
Okay, my comments have become a discussion, but that's okay.
Well,
Commissioner
you're
Stokes.
looking for consensus.
That's
so-
right.
Yes, I think it would be very important. As much as I would love to go after things that would be more exciting and fun, like arts grants and things like that, I think where the real money is.
Oh, we need
where
a road.
our big deficit
Oh,
is.
absolutely.
Stormwater.
Yep.
Flooding. That
Roads.
is so expensive and, if the faster we can get ahead of that, that will help us tremendously in things like roads.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what type of experience we're gonna be looking for with the grant writers.
I don't know, but I just, in the meantime, we've been here a year now almost.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've got to start doing something instead of, should we wait for the, we had to wait for the budget process and then now we have the advertising. In the meantime, we have a very limited outreach. So
And we have a lobbyist,
we do have a lobby,
comes
but that's
to-
very limited. That's really to the legislature.
but he comes to us at the end of the process. Not at-
Well, we've had a conversation with him about that and
Oh, yeah.
we're changing that up a little bit. Another couple of things, just real quick, the party house that Commissioner Vice Mayor Robinson spoke about. I'm alerting staff that we need to have a meeting about the zoning and the licensing and the noise and the fireworks and everything else and
Quality of life.
the assault, the parking.
Quality of life.
Yeah, it was, my phone was burning up this weekend and it's a problem and we need to address it. And it's difficult. I will say this right now, there is no magic sweep of a magic wand that will make it better. It's very, very difficult area to enforce, but we are going to be working on it. And I'm going to ask the city manager to, get her people together to talk about it. It was a mess. And one more thing, we have a great farmers market. I spoke with Carrie Sobel, who's the guy that kind of organizes the green market, and he's very interested in having a summer green market. And we're thinking about maybe a possible place for it would be the Hatch, which is covered and which has, they've had some, even if it's a night market because it's summer's hot. And even if we start out once a month or every 2 weeks, just to get a little more traffic west of town and also to keep if there's interest, the markets I've gone to at the Hatch are exciting. It's a fun place to go. So I'm going to be working with him on that. If anybody doesn't want me to, let Carmen know. But he has asked me a few times about it. I'm going to set up a meeting with him. So that's all I had. All right. Yeah, when I saw this morning, $11 million. Like, what? Okey doke. Now we are at public participation in non-agenda items, and we have one card. Madam Clerk, do you have any cards?
Yes, I have two, Madam Mayor.
Why don't you go first?
Okay. The first one is from Ramsey McLeod, 24 South C Street. I have no issue with you being able to pass this resolution. She's referring to the one on consent for the lot clearing. I just have a concern about the impact this process is continuing to have on the empty lots in our city. 417 South D Street was an issue before I purchased a home in this area in 2010. I understand the residents want the lot maintained and not allowed to become a nuisance, but we seem to have gotten into a pattern where we continue to fine, place liens, et cetera, on properties, essentially driving the cost of purchasing them off the market. Right now, if someone wants to purchase such a property, the city would have to reduce the amount they are seeking and past costs in order to make the property worth purchasing. So in the long run, are all these fines and liens resulting in the city recouping 100% of its expenses? I think not. This issue is a two-edged sword, as the city is being stuck with maintaining these properties and does not have a successful system by which to collect these costs in a timely manner. How long do we keep running up the bill against owners who have not yet responded or cannot be found if they have not paid property taxes? They are not about to start paying fines and liens. When and how can we get these deadbeat property owners off our books and out of our city? I think the time has come for the city to come up with a better method to address this issue and get these properties back on the market for development.
Thank you.
The next comment is from Chia Schmitz, South K Street, 618 South K Street. The parking situation on my street, she lives near South Grade Elementary, and the surrounding blocks is in a crisis. I realize many of the commissioners don't live in this area, so it might be hard to imagine what a residential parking crisis looks like. So I'd like to paint a quick picture. First, the litter. Because there are so many vehicles, my street rarely gets cleaned. With no alternate side parking and most spaces usually occupied, the street sweeper can't effectively pass, leaving the street full of condoms, snack wrappers, trash piles, and dead leaves. This is near a school on a road full of children and families. Second, commercial vehicles and abandoned cars. Because there is no regulation or authority, anyone can park on my block for free and for as long as they'd like. People abandon junk cars in front of homes for months, and nearby businesses park extra commercial vans and trucks as they please, taking valuable parking spaces from residents who in turn aren't guaranteed parking on the street they live on. Lastly, big offenders. Because there is no regulation or authority, we get big time offenders like a single family home parking 5 to 8 cars daily at the expense of its neighbors on a block with multiple homes and only 15 spaces to share. As a city, we need to ensure residents can safely street park near their homes, whether they're a renter or owner. But we must also have a means of ensuring that we have a fair system. And currently, we've been ignoring an issue that's getting out of hand at the expense of only ourselves. These are just 3 examples in a long list, which also includes unsafe streets after dark, with prostitutes and johns pulling over, or the havoc city planned events can cause on a street with limited residential parking. I hope the commission can implement a process for resolving parking issues throughout our entire community. Just taking the first steps might lead us to realize we are holding ourselves back from a happier and healthier city. That's the end of comments I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We have Todd Velez.
Hello, Todd Velez, 530 North G. I'm going to speak about the Love Lake Worth event that just took place on February 5th and this month. And of course, it's an extension of the Ministers Association. Ministers Association have been defunct for about 20 some years, 23 years, late 90s with Reverend Spellman of First Christian, if you remember that one, on across from Publix, present Publix. And then by 14, 15, the idea came up again to Calvary, Chris Dillon, pastor, to initiate this, but it went into Pastor John LaBelle with First Presby and with the hurricane shelters for the church properties, possibly, or went to Chris Voss with Sunlight for Christian Reform. Then they would meet for lunch, but not much going on for a couple of years until Reverend Ron Jones came to town and with Coastal Chapel, and that he brought Love Lake Worth. So that event, you move around, and last November, the Osborne School, we painted it. And in the Osborne colored edition, or whatever you want to call it nowadays, but for me, it was exciting because it had been built by the Presbyterians back in that era, in the 40s. The maybe kind of making up for also their participation with the Jim Crow laws of that in the teens, but that church, those elders, that Reverend Palmer had a lot of sway and couldn't pass up a great idea or something that spoke from their heart. And that was meeting all the high schools. Boyston was behind the high school. The City Hall Annex was a school, the Wooden School, and the 12. Well, they had been building schools in the teens, or in the teens, in the 90s, or 1800s and 1880s, and knew how to get the funding in Nebraska and Pennsylvania. So when Lake Worth started up, they could cut through a lot because the county was fighting them. I built a school here when you got it in West Palm.
Wow.
So for me, it was exciting. For history, it's nice to revisit, but that's where the driving force was with your churches. The library, the post office, federal highway being named, the city, the courthouse in West Palm was the first Presby here in Lakewood. A postcard campaign from promoting the city was through the elders. You see a lot of the former mayors here were some of the elders of various churches, First Presby and Methodist Church. Also a radio show, which was on the ocean, which Colmer pushed the elders to buy that property.
Thank you. Your time is up, sir.
So, you'll finish up real quick.
Yeah, I'll finish. So it's exciting what is taking place yearly, and November will be another event. The grant thing, as I heard some things, the pool also. What was interesting was when the pool was segregated, it was a woman with Calvary United Methodist who didn't agree with that. She'd take them to her residence in 700 block of North E and to her private residence and teach them how to swim. When the schools started to integrate, there were pleasant times and riots. And the kids took her child aside and said, don't harm her. Her mother taught me how to swim. So there's a lot of good within the bath. And
Okay, we really need to.
We're gonna wrap it up.
Thank you very much. And the events that I've seen that the churches have put on up at Sunset Ridge Park are lovely. Really, a lot of big turnout. Thank you very much, Todd. Okay, now we are on the approval of minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Consent agenda. Motion, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve as it is.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Now, we're quasi judicial hearing that we have to start. Consideration of a mixed-use urban plan development, major site plan, conditional use, and sustainable bonus program incentives to construct an 18-unit mixed-use multifamily development commonly referred to as Casa Bella within the mixed-use West MUW zoning district. Would you read the ordinance, please?
Yes, ordinance number 2022-01 is an ordinance of the city commission of the city of Lakewood, Florida, amending the official zoning map by approving the creation of a mixed-use urban plan development district located on the east side of Mount Lowe Road, approximately 230 feet south of 10th Avenue North, consisting of approximately 0.52 acres of more actively described in Exhibit A. Located in the mixed-use West MUW zoning district with future land use designation of this mixed-use West MUW subject to specific development standards set forth in Exhibit B, and conditional approval set forth in Exhibit C. Approving a conditional use permit through the density bonus incentive, through the city sustainable bonus incentive program, approving a major site plan for the construction of an 18-unit mixed-use urban plan development plan accessibility complex.
Thank you. Well done. This is a quasi judicial hearing, and the hearing must be fair in three respects: form, substance, and appearance. Commissioner Maliga, have you had any demonstrated bias against before any party in the hearing?
No, ma'am.
Have you had any direct or indirect monetary interest in the outcome of the hearing, including any campaign contributions?
No, ma'am.
Do you have a prejudgment of the issues prior to the hearing of the facts on the record?
No, ma'am.
Do you have any ex parte communications, personal investigations, or campaign contributions to disclose?
Nope.
Okay, Commissioner McFoy, I asked you the same questions. Do you have a demonstrated bias or prejudice for or against any party in the hearing?
No, ma'am.
Do you have a direct or indirect monetary interest in the outcome of the hearing, including any campaign contributions?
No.
Do you have a prejudgment of the issues prior to the hearing facts on the record?
Nope.
Do you have any ex parte communications, personal investigations, or campaign contributions?
Nope.
Commissioner Stokes, do you have a demonstrated bias or prejudice for or against any party in the hearing?
No,
Do you have a direct or indirect monetary interest in the outcome of the hearing, including any campaign contributions?
Nope.
Do you have a prejudgment of the issues prior to hearing the facts on the record?
no,
Do you have any ex parte communications, personal investigations, or campaign contributions to disclose?
no.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Robinson.
I'll answer no to those questions as well.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we go to the next.
What about you, Mayor?
Oh, it's my turn. My turn. I have no demonstrated bias or prejudice. I have not any direct, or I do not have any direct or indirect monetary interest, including any campaign contributions. I have no prejudgment prior to the hearing, and I have not had any ex parte communications, personal investigations, or campaign contributions to disclose. Thank you. Thanks for remembering. So all those giving testimony, please raise your sworn in.
We're going to need to vote. Virginia, if you can turn on your camera.
Yeah, there we go.
No, very good.
Okay, do you want me to swear everybody in who will be giving testimony, Mayor?
Yes, we just have one person standing. And where's Mr. Waters? Does he get sworn in?
He usually does, but I had to.
Okay, well, we can swear him in before he testifies. Yes, please have the oath taken.
All right, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Mr. Beaudry?
Thank you.
Who is Alfonso Beaudry? Do I know?
Alfonso, IT guy.
He's IT.
Thank you. It's been a long time. Okay. So I'm looking to staff for your presentation, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For the record, Erin Pena, Assistant Director of Community Sustainability. As previously stated, when the ordinance was read, this ordinance number is ordinance 2022-01. And this would allow for the construction of an 18-unit mixed-use multifamily office at 3322 Boutwell Road, and it is in the mixed-use West zoning district. So you can see the general site location here. The applicant is Giorgio. I'm gonna butcher his name.
Antoniazzi.
Antoniazzi. Yeah, that's right.
And
I was raised in Jersey.
and the owner is Creative Financing LLC. Again, the address is, it should be 3322 Bowell Road. So this had a little delay. This originally went to the Planning and Zoning Board on July 7th. It was incorrectly stated in your packet. It was a typographical error. And it received a 6-0 vote approval. Normally it would have been scheduled very soon after, but unfortunately there was a death in the family of the ownership. And so we had to wait to schedule the final approval into the ownership transfer. So that's why you're saying it so late.
And Aaron, you said the vote was what?
6-0. So I apologize for that. It was completely, I was distracted. I changed jobs in the middle of writing staff report. So you can see here is the 18-unit, the general site plan. It has 23 parking spaces. It's got a central courtyard and has a large amount of needed landscaping. Here are the rendered drawings on the side. Here are the existing conditions.
It's a complete empty block right now.
There's one single family home right here that will be demolished and then it will be replaced with the 18 units if approved.
Is there somebody living in it now?
I don't believe so. I believe it's vacant. It's mostly surrounded by predominantly commercial, including hotel and a gas station. And then the analysis is they're requesting 2 modifications to the LDRs as part of the plan development, including a front setback relief of 3.5 feet and an impermeable surface coverage relief of 4.8% for a total of 69.8%. And remember, impermeable surface is not drainage. They have to meet the city's drainage requirement. Impermeable surface is, it enhances, it can enhance water quality, but it also provides, its main goal is providing green space in the city. So additional, ensuring that there's a certain amount of open or green space.
So they're asking for less than what we would ask for.
Right, it's 4.8%. And that's as part of the plan development process. That's within your process to provide additional flexibility
to allow developments relief. Several of our developments have requested that. The comprehensive plan, the strategic plan, the LDRs, the criteria for mixed-use developments consistent with the qualitative development standards, the community plans criteria, and generally harmonious with the LDRs and protection of public interest, or it's consistent with them and consistent with all specific standards for conditional uses. Staff is recommending approval of the submissions in Exhibit C. I also wanted to bring to your attention, there were 2 additional requests by the Planning and Zoning Board for your consideration. One was that they wanted addition to add a bike rack where staff could approve that modification at building permit. And they also wanted the addition of a dog bag dispenser as well. These are not requirements under our code, so we didn't put in our conditions of approval, but I wanted to bring you that those were items of discussion on the Planning and Zoning Board. If you wanted to add those additional approval, we could at your discretion.
What was the second thing? I didn't hear
A
it.
dog bag.
Dog bag
dispenser.
Oh, okay.
So
Very specific.
Very. Okay, is that the end of your presentation?
that concludes my presentation. Giorgio is available to take the presentation.
Okay, Giorgio?
Yes, good evening, everybody. Giorgio Antoniassi here. Thank you, Aaron, for describing the project so well to the board. I couldn't make it there tonight, but I hope to be there for the second reading. I think this is a very exciting project. It's very straightforward. And I think it really strives to not only create a competitive housing option for the area, albeit 18 units, but it's pretty small scale, I would say. But it does architecturally achieve the goals of the thoroughfare guidelines. We're trying to establish a street edge. We're doing our best to reduce and hide parking from views of the street. We have many openings along our primary frontage, which not only, I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I thought I heard something. We have many openings along the primary frontage, which in our mind really provides a sense of individuality to each one of the units, which is nice for what will be a rental multifamily mixed-use project. As far as the bike rack and the dog bag dispenser, that's not an issue on our end. Many of these setbacks and requirement and sort of allowances that we've asked for are to really keep this project affordable in the long run. Of course, things like impermeable surface area can be reduced. However, you probably end up with a taller and smaller footprint at that point. Suddenly you have a 3-story building, for example, which also reduces the options for living for some of the disabled or more elderly people that live in the area. We've strived to create this center courtyard, which not only provides a pleasant view for the residents, but also provides a more private area to congregate. I'm open to your questions. I look forward to hearing your opinion on the project.
Thank you. I'll start. What sustainability aspects are involved in this and what do they get for them?
So the sustainable bonus.
I get to look.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The sustainable bonus is about a little over $21,000 for the additional 3 units that they're requesting. And about half of that is conditioned to be paid out per city commission direction directly as a check to the city. So it's about a $10,000 in improvements. So they have provided as part of their sustainable bonus application, the central courtyard as an open space area for residents and additional landscaping beyond what is required for the renovation.
I think this commission spoke earlier this year about sustainability not being something that would affect the project itself, but would actually be something that the city, the concept of sustainability. So I'm hearing the courtyard and the landscaping is their sustainability, which is counter to what we've been sort of talking about. And for that, so to put landscaping and a courtyard, he gets 3 extra units.
The landscaping is the perimeter landscaping, and it's at a very higher percentage of required native, and there's more landscaping. So So it's landscaping along the boundary.
Okay.
Why it qualified.
Okay, so,
And then the open, we don't require an open space or a recreational element for residential. So the open space element for the residential component is also.
but again, it benefits that development, and I hate to be harsh about it.
Also, I believe part of the funds being given to the city fund, correct?
What's the total that? Are you getting three, how many, is it three, one bedroom, unit, two bedroom, what's the,
For this total square footage for the allocated units, the cost equates to $21,000, about $21,600. So 50% of that is being required for condition of approval to be paid in a check to the city.
$10,000, $11,000? For $21,000, he's getting three extra units,
We're getting 2 extra units.
which is it?
It's 16 units and we're proposing 18. It's 16 as of right. We're proposing 18.
I did, and I apologize, Mr. Renzi, this is an issue that this commission has had with sustainability. And using sustainability, I mean, it's nice that there's gonna be landscaping on Batwell, that's nice, but we,
Oh,
$21,000 is not a lot to spend on 2 units.
well, I would say that really really the goal here is a larger vision for the city, if I can be frank. So when I look at the thoroughfare guidelines, what we're really trying to achieve is a more walkable city, a city where we don't have to provide as much parking. And so this project, just by being in this thoroughfare and by providing a more compact unit and smaller units that I hope will be more competitive in the market, less parking, suddenly we're already being more sustainable in that sense.
So you're giving less parking, you're on Batwell Road, it's not exactly like you're downtown, you're gonna walk over to Publix.
There's no walking
There's
to
nothing to
anything.
walk to, except a gas.
Right,
station.
but we're building per what the vision for this area is in the future.
Well-
Right now, we're the first of this type of development. However, this is not what Boutwell Road may look like in 20 years or so. We're just the first ones building under what the master plan and the vision is for this area.
Which
So we
also
have
makes me,
to build for that.
which also,
Now,
let me just say to the commission, it makes me a little uncomfortable to hear that because that's the motorhome park. If we're talking about future, it's gonna look like this in the future, that means that motorhome park is gonna be vulnerable. We were pretty clear about sustainability. Are these market rates? Is there any affordability here? What's your market rate and what's your rate on a 2-bedroom apartment?
I'm the architect, not the developer. I did speak to the developer before the meeting, and they are aiming for up to 1,200 for the 1-bedroom and 1,500 to 1,700 for 2 bedrooms. If you look at our plan, these are very small units. There's 10 1-bedrooms and 8 2-bedrooms. And the 2 bedrooms are really 2-1.
And what about the
and-
studios?
The studios are really one bedrooms in reality.
Well, but you have a separate, you have studio, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom. Is there a reason the developer's not here to answer these questions? Anybody?
I had the same question that both the developer and the architect are not here
Well, the architect's here, but
to, sort of here, but
I have,
Now, what exactly is the question? That information came from the developer. So we're asking for two extra units, really not, maximizing the lot in terms of area and creating a beautiful frontage for Boutwell Road.
I see it in one of your
Commissioner, let's go with,
I'm sorry,
that's okay, Commissioner Malega.
I see a big studio in one of your renderings, page A100.
Yep.
Huge studio in the middle of it.
It's got, but if you look at it, it actually has a bedroom. It's not just a studio. There's a wall with a door.
It's
Same size as 1 bedroom.
And Aaron, is it 3 units that they're getting? Because he's saying that we're,
It's 3 units, and I just want to mention, I also want to mention that this project came in 2020. And then the delay in the summer was related to the change in ownership. So they came in under the old program prior to your direction. What we've done is, as a condition of approval, we've conditioned them based on the direction that you all gave to require to pay 50% as a condition of approval, because that direction changed with them mid-process. And I will also say, because they came in under the old program, part of why that number is only 20,000 is because they're under the old sustainable bonus fee of $10 for a square foot for the residential, but not the 15 that was adopted in the fee schedule in October. So this is kind of that, it's very, very delayed because of some legal issues. And otherwise it would have come in prior to the direction and prior to the schedule change in October.
How many extra square feet are they getting for $21,000?
It's 21,000, or I mean, it's 22,100 square feet for the 3 units.
Okay, Commissioner McBoy?
Yeah, I am just wondering why it is that we need to come in for a plan unit development and why it is that the developer is quibbling over 3.5 feet. Why not stick to our original 20 feet setback? Boutwell Road currently has a fair amount of traffic on it. I have reports of racing on that road, so noise with it. If the developer or the architect are saying, well, this is the beginning, there will be more on there, one can only expect that that's going to get worse, not better. And I would think you would want as much setback from the road as you can get.
And parking.
I certainly take issue with the thought that, you know, it's of, you know, you want to make it walkability and so on. Yes, of course, we have many, many discussions about walkability, but not in this location.
Right.
I don't know how familiar the architect and developer are with the city, but there's nothing to walk to.
Right.
And there's, on the other side of the road, it's pretty much all warehouses. I don't envision them walking a lot to those. I have a problem with, you know, reducing the setback. I heard the comment that, well, there's extra landscaping. I looked through the landscaping list of species and I looked at the plan. And I'm thinking, kids are conceivably going to grow up in this thing. There is nowhere, there are little plantery sort of things that have one tree in them that you probably can't do anything in, you can't get in. It's 10 feet wide to the north. There really isn't much of anything on the west side. I mean, I have a big problem with this, and I've spent some time in Miami where I've seen some of the apartment complexes where they had much more green space for kids to run around in, or animals or cats or whatever. And I've looked at the mid. I've walked around the mid. I have no idea how the mid got through because there's almost zero green space in that too. And this looks like the same sort of thing that I wouldn't want kids to grow up in this. The courtyard in the middle, yes, I see some to that. I would make sure that those benches or whatever they are were benches plus table, and I would make sure that they were underneath the vegetation rather than next to it. It's hot in Florida. So if you really want people to use it, make sure that they have some shade built in.
Madam Mayor. So I just.
Am I allowed to respond to these comments?
Okay, go ahead.
Sure, go ahead, sir.
Well, once, I mean, in terms of landscaping, we are providing more than what is there. There are ample green buffers along the perimeter. I'm glad you approve of the courtyard in the center. Regarding the setback, actually, you know, improving and lessening the setback will down the road slow down traffic actually in this area. In terms of whether the setback is affected by the amount of traffic in the front, I think it's still a pretty big setback for an urban location. I grew up in Lake Worth and I'm very familiar with the city. I've invested and built there and constantly am doing work in the city, and it's very special to me personally. I do think, you know, perhaps not for you to walk in these areas. There are places to walk to. And I often see people walking on 10th And like I said, we're not building for right now, we're building for the future. For example, the project, do we really want, 10th to continue to be this hotel that's surrounded by a parking lot that's behind us, or the multifamily project that's across the street? Or would you rather actually see the faces of building along Boutwell Road that will not only slow down traffic, but create a sense of place for this portion of Lake Worth? I really am a little bit shocked by the reaction, because when I read the master plan and I read the thoroughfare guidelines, it seems like we're doing something, I'm in alignment with what the city wants. And then I'm kind of not getting that same reaction from the board. So I don't know if something has changed, but I still think that this is a great small scale development that's going to provide a different housing option for the area.
Do they meet?
And in terms of the additional square footage, we're around 700 square feet per unit, let's say. So we're talking about 1,400 square feet. And that's $21,000. And I believe most of it is going to the city fund.
Okay, can I go now?
Yeah.
Okay, and I understand what he's saying. I mean, if he came in 2020, and we all know we have a strong compassion of how much we don't like these rules and regulations, that's why we need to change them. We can't, and I'll say I won't punish the architect and the developer, because they came in under one program and we are changing that. My questions are more in regards to security and safety. What will you be doing for security on the property? Will there be ring doorbells? Will you have perimeter security? Will you have on-site management? Are the windows high impact, hurricane impact? Will you have electric vehicle charging stations? Is the name Casa Bella or Casa Nueva? Because I saw both on the documentation. And the office space that you have in here, is that going to be office space for on management, or are you going to be renting that out? That's all my questions.
Ideally, that would be rented out. And I think actually, in terms of on the point of sustainability, this building is very adaptable in that sense too. Let's say the market changes, or especially now with people working from home, should we want to have sort of a live work sort of unit in some future, those front units that face Boutwell Road could easily become some sort of live work option for somebody in this area. The owner, who Richard Cruz, who was the original developer for this project, who unexpectedly passed away last year, he renovated and owned the Hummingbird Hotel in downtown and ran Emerge. So he was very aware of the need for office space in the city. And I believe we are obviously, doing our best to take advantage of what the code gives us through making a mixed-use building. But the idea was actually that down the line, we could actually increase the office space in this building, because ultimately it would probably yield a higher return for the developer. So yes, this unit, and actually it will be rented out. But in some future, I wouldn't be surprised if we were proposing a plan to have a change of use for more of these units to become office. But nowadays, that's how you design. You have to design a building that can live a long life and can fit multiple roles should the market change.
What about
The rest of the questions
Right,
I had,
saying-
impact windows, EV security,
In
yeah.
impact windows, we do have in our in the budget, and we have I believe it's documented. Lighting for security. We would never design a building without impact windows. It's hard to even find. It's somebody that sells non-impact windows down here. EV charging stations, I don't know if that's something that we have specifically written anywhere. We haven't gotten there yet.
Okay, and what about security cameras, ring doorbells? What kind of perimeter?
Security cameras,
do you have?
I don't have, I haven't gotten there yet. However, if I was a landlord, you can bet there would be plenty of cameras on all four sides of this building.
That's gonna be part of my conditional use. That's non-negotiable. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Robinson.
This is disappointing because I like to see development. And you're telling me that the beautification of Boutwell Road is, I'm going to say 60% the building and 40% parking with a dumpster, the primary focus of the parking area off Boutwell.
That's the back half.
I'm looking at Boutwell Road and I'm looking at a parking as being sold as beautification.
No, I mean, I don't know what you want. Is that an opinion on that?
Give me the specifics on how much of the building is facing Boutwell and how much of the parking is facing Boutwell.
Boutwell Road. Let me just share it.
Okay, sure. So Boutwell is on the side of the.
And I guess why it isn't linear to the Boutwell Road and the parking and, you know, is that a feature of our major thoroughfare guidelines is to have parking?
Well, we actually
I thought we were
limit the
raising
views
our
into the
standards.
property.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at studios that are coming in. Where is the bed going to be proposed in a studio? By the front door or in the kitchen area?
Well, the one area is a living kitchen area. That's what it is.
So the bed is going to be in the
Oh, no,
front
there's a
door?
separate bedroom.
I'm sorry?
It looks like there's just a door to the bedroom.
Oh, that's how you get into the place. Anyhow, I thought we were raising our standards in Lake Worth. I know you've built some very nice residential properties. Is that true?
That's true.
How many multi-units have you done?
I've done quite a bit as well, just not in Lake Worth and over my career.
Do they have laundries in the units or down the hall?
You know, this was an ask from the developer.
I'm sure.
Specific. And so I have to, you know, I have a certain limit, you know, in terms of
Well,
the
we'd like to work
program.
within his budget, but we also would like to.
However,
provide,
actually, but
attractive housing to Lake Worth Beach. And I don't.
you know,
consider-
it was always a point of contention. And I had a conversation with Richard Cruz that we said, you know, once we get the approval, we're going to put the laundry units inside. You know, when we design these projects, you know, we're really worried about building disposition rather than the details of the interior plan. This project will continue to get developed, and I know that it's in the plans in the next phase to have washer and dryers included within the units.
Because right now
That's not being
it
presented.
shows a laundry room.
Where are we at in phase? What phase is this?
All right.
Dumpster. The dumpster.
I think that would be a condition of approval that we would have.
Because right now it shows one laundry room.
Well,
Commissioners,
that's going to involve a complete redo.
well, that's going to be up to them.
layout.
That's gonna be up to them.
I'm going to ask why the building isn't linear to the road instead of, you know, half parking and half building. You know, I really would like to envision the bed somewhere in the one bedroom. I'm trying to imagine where you're going to put a bed in a one bedroom unit.
In the bedroom.
It's what I'm looking at.
The entrance will be on the outside, the walkway around
I guess on the second floor.
Yeah.
The second floor, you're coming in. Anyhow, this is disappointing. It certainly hasn't raised the standard of living in Lake Worth Beach. Is there any CRA money involved here?
It's not in the Sierra District.
Just sustainability bonus? Is that?
Commissioner Stokes,
Well, no, I'm trying to get over my excitement for accepting this.
Commissioner Stokes.
Yeah, I just wanted to get a response on Commissioner Robinson's question,
Mhm.
because when I saw the front of the building, I'll be honest, I actually like this project,
Mhm.
but I have a few questions. When I saw the front of the building, I love apartment buildings and things that don't look like apartment buildings. And I look at this because they have the 4 separate doors, it looks more
Like townhouses,
townhousey
yeah.
and things like that. And when you walk inside of the neighborhoods here on the east side of Lakewood Beach, there's actual like apartments that look like real houses. You walk in, and I love it. I like this style. I'm excited about it. But when I look at the view from the street, I was imagining that would be the,
Right.
is that the view?
That's what I was gonna say. Isn't this the view
from?
from Boutwell? Because it says view from
The view, no,
It
the
looks
view
like-
from Boutwell is the west side of the building.
So I do wanna,
This is the side. So this isn't the front. Is that what you're
This
saying?
is the view from Boutwell.
This is the front.
that's
This
not
is what faces Boutwell Road.
But if you look
The
at,
other half is parking.
I'm looking at, what am I looking at?
We were thinking, I think the large, with the more linear.
In the backup, it's page 73. But I don't know, because I don't have the printed version, so I don't know if they're all the same.
With a picture of.
Here, let me show you.
It's right after the, like, all the surrounding areas.
I think what we're trying to get at is the
Oh, yeah,
front
right
of the
there.
building.
Exactly. Yes, so if you look at this, it shows Boutwell Road over
Right,
here.
and it's all-
and
This is what, and this is,
perpendicular.
they're saying this is what you'll see on the
Correct.
side.
So that's what we're just wondering, like, we imagine that this would be rotated 90 degrees counterclockwise.
So that
This
the,
would be like this.
Yes. But that's not what you're, right? This is showing Boutwell Road is side of the building, the parking
Yeah.
lot?
That is a sign.
that is the
This
sign.
is
Oh, that's the side?
This is the side from the street.
This is the side. The way it's rendered, this is the side to Boutwell.
Oh.
You see these little, this is-
Not the front.
These are little landscaping areas, and this is a little kind of geometric sidewalk here that connects to the doors. So
Okay.
These are planting.
So that view is good. So I guess to Commissioner Robinson's question is, why wasn't it rotated in the parking put behind the
Behind it,
building,
right.
like we would have expected?
Turn to the left.
By the time you put in, that would have been ideal. I agree. However, it just would have been a different building. It would have been, you would have actually ended with less frontage on Boutwell Road, believe it or not.
Hard to believe.
Didn't we just have a property before us not that long ago where we said we couldn't have parking as part of the thoroughfare?
We allow it on the
There
side.
are some misconceptions.
Well, it has to be screened.
So we're gonna let Mr. Waters speak.
Sustainability Director. First,
Where you at?
he made the thoroughfare.
Okay.
He's applied as best he can and made the thoroughfare guidelines to be compatible and harmonious with other areas like 10th Avenue. The major thoroughfare guidelines allow a parking lot on the side. It is not required to be in the back. It specifically says that parking is preferred in the back, but it's allowed on the side. This one is allowing it on the side. It doesn't have an alley, and if it had an alley, I'm sure Mr. Antonotti would have designed all the parking in the back, because you wouldn't have to access it from Boutwell, but it's got to be a two-way access from Boutwell that allows the trash truck to get in.
Okay.
And so you're a little bit constrained because the lot is kind of square. And so I think he did as best he could, meeting the parking requirement and having a building that had 18 units that is trying to remain affordable by not being 3 stories. There are some things you've asked about that are required under the building code. You cannot build a new building without having impact protection.
Well, I'm asking,
Yeah.
first of all, because there's nothing in here that says,
This is not a.
Well, we don't apparently know that.
okay,
So now we do.
Is there a way we can, and I'm guessing the answer is no, get that part, the dumpster more towards the back of the lot?
Public services will have a very difficult time accessing that
Yes.
dumpster and then having to
Yeah.
back out the parking lot and then.
Right.
So.
Oh, 'cause there's no
unfortunately,
turnaround.
Due to
wait,
trash, the ease of trash pickup and delivery and avoiding liability of running over things you don't want to run over. There is a preference to have the dumpster, not where I would like to have it, but if we had rear access to a lot of these properties, which we don't unfortunately, that ends up being where the dumpster is.
Is there a way to landscape around it?
It's required.
It'll have to be in a.
Yeah, it's well screened. And it has a CMU wall around it, which I know is not ideal.
How many guests?
Actually, initially, early in the process, a dumpster was all the way in the back of the parking area. After meeting, these plans go to each one of these departments and they provide comments through working with the waste management comments. This ended up coming to the front.
How many
Oh, it
guest
is.
parking spaces? We're getting a nod from our attorney. I have one quick, how many guest spaces are there parking?
It's not set up that way. It's set up to as a parking ratio. We don't have dedicated guest parking as a ratio of parking required per unit. And then also for the office and within, because it's a mixed use development, you can request a 25% reduction in the overall total parking count.
Have they?
They have.
I wanted, if I can continue and just wrap up my thoughts. I feel like I'm.
Wait,
okay,
I'm sorry, we're getting at, oh, Mr. Madam Clerk, would you swear William in? Do you swear to, I'm a notary. Do you swear to tell the truth?
Oh,
So to me, it seems like with the law and the constraints of trying to do the best they can with the size to get us more housing, I think when we continue to say that we want to think about affordable housing and how we can keep housing affordable, one of the biggest drivers is parking, from what I've read. Like when people have to develop and plan for so much parking, it really eats up their budget and is really hard to build affordable housing when you have really strict parking requirements. And I do hope in the future we will have ways to move around 10th Avenue and I-95 right there that doesn't require a huge reliance on cars. If we're trying to be forward thinking and when we talk about mobility, and we all, a lot of us up here say that we don't want to be the city that continues to rely on cars, but then we're mad that they're not providing enough parking here. So I am in favor of moving away from strict parking requirements so that we can provide more housing, especially in the crisis that we're finding ourselves in right now. I have no problem with 3 extra units for this developer. I am surprised that he didn't ask to not have to do the requirement of paying 50% into our fund because he had started this whole process so early and had a health issue in his family. So I'm thankful that they're going in the direction of the new commission by paying 50% in there. Hopefully we can see a few other improvements, but to me, it looks like unless they were going to build a whole different project, maybe taller or something else, if they were trying to do the best they could in this space. And
Sounds a shame it's not taller because that's a place where height would not really
yeah,
impact.
I was wondering the same thing. Why? Because we have the hotel right there. It looks like it's 5 stories or so. We have some single family homes behind it though. So I don't know if they're just trying to be considerate to those neighbors.
I have one more question.
Okay, real quick, please.
It's the possibility of one way in and one way out, one by one.
Have to have.
Once,
Where would you put it?
not at this point. I did look at, that was studied, and this ended up being actually the best solution. There's many things at play, since just even starting with the buffers and the requirements for a lane from the property, you end up losing a lot of space and you would actually end up with this very skinny building with parking on 2 sides, which would look worse than what we're proposing.
I guess the question is, can the access to the property be a 1 lane in and a 1 lane out?
Where would they go?
To the parking lot of the
I
hotel?
understand the idea, have the parking in the rear, have 1 lane in on one side of the building and exit through the other.
Thank you.
When you do that, you end up and you account for buffers and the turning radius for the utilities, and even actually the fire department wouldn't have to go in there, but garbage truck, for example, you end up with a very tight, short building that just looks like that just would end up being a double loaded building that looks to the side setbacks. Instead of this building that sort of curls around the property and has views to this courtyard, and you feel a sense of ownership when you walk to this single door. My first idea was exactly what you're mentioning, and we deemed that it just wouldn't work. It wasn't working how we thought.
You couldn't get the density
Okay,
No, density, we go higher. I mean, we can go, it's not about density because the building would become very compact. It would just be a very efficient, single loaded building with where maybe 2 units would look out to Boutwell Road and the rest would be looking to these alleys on the sides of the property. Instead of this building that kind of provides nicer views everywhere you look. Most of the property, okay, looks to the green buffer. There's no cars going by there. They have views to this courtyard. And then, if we start to go higher, suddenly you have an elevator and suddenly you start being able to ask a lot more for rent.
Still like an answer to the question on the second floor studios is where you envision.
Well,
that.
it's exactly the studio. So you walk in through that space, and that's sort of the pseudo bedroom, right? So a studio doesn't really have a bedroom per se, but as you walk in, you could have a sofa bed, you could have a Murphy bed, you could have your bedroom there.
I'm looking at the studio and it looks on the first floor and it looks as though you walk in a hallway. To your left is a bedroom, to your right is the bathroom and
Second floor.
The second floor studio.
Yeah, you walk in and I mean, it's actually one bedroom, just a smaller one bedroom.
Right, we just don't put the door there because, we don't put a wall there because it would feel more cramped.
Right.
So somebody down the line
We
could
can only
put,
have one person talking at a time, Herman.
sorry about that, I couldn't hear.
Okay, all right. I'm a little disappointed, although I know Commissioner Smith, it calls for 32 spaces, they're getting 22 spaces. I think that's a problem. People do rely on cars and there's not a lot of walking. That's the thing I'm concerned about. So do I have a motion? Somebody.
Can I make it?
Yeah.
Sorry, but this is going to be a perfect
Go ahead. Yes.
into the next development that is going to be maybe not even as good. The bonus money that we're getting, can we earmark that to mobility?
So tomorrow it's not.
For the record, I think we have a workshop tentatively scheduled in April for sometime in April, where we're going to be discussing your desire to make some modifications to the mobility incentive program, the economic investment incentive program, the economic infrastructure program, the transfer development right program, the trust fund.
So we're approving this project tonight. Can we designate the money that they're contributing to a mobility fund?
I would prefer, if you don't mind, that we discuss the totality of what's in the sustainable bonus trust fund, which will have this contribution and 2 other ones. And then the transfer development program will have $500,000 in it soon, and discuss, because $11,000 for mobility won't go very far.
Yeah.
But we
Just start.
can give you an idea of what all is going to be in there eventually by the end of the fiscal year. You are required under the the trust funds that are set up to decide how that money is going to be spent. A mobility plan would be something that the sustainable bonus.
There is a trust fund. There is a trust
We
fund,
set it up.
Right.
The deposits go in there as they're paid.
Okay.
We haven't had much paid in yet, but it's coming. So we can go from there. The other thing I'd like to remind people, and we go out here for lunch a lot, there is a grocery store 3 blocks away. This is on the walkable route to the middle school. Dozens of children walk by this site every day to and from school. There are several restaurants within several blocks of this location, and it's on a bus route on 10th. So it may not appear like the best place to be walkable, but it's actually better served in many areas of the eastern part of the city, surprisingly enough.
And they'll have to cross 10th.
It's 250 feet from a bus stop, eastbound bus stop,
Right.
and it's less than 500 feet from a westbound.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that's wonderful that it is near
And
10.
It's less than a mile, it's less than a mile from the Aldi's, and it's less than a half a mile, it's about a little more than a half a mile from the Walmart Supercenter.
There's also the Presidente
And the Presidente grocery store. It's actually for an affordable project. It's proximate to jobs and it's proximate to services and medical. It's actually, that it's really interesting that this is actually.
Well, we're not calling this affordable.
Their market is affordable workforce housing rate. It's market rate, but it won't be a luxury product, you know.
I mean, at this point, it was showing a communal laundry site. So you can imagine what the idea was. Obviously, providing.
So for $1,700, you're saying that's affordable with no laundry in the facility?
Well, that's gonna be,
We're gonna add the laundry, but I think it tells a story of what.
Hold on,
the
Georgia,
developer
let
was
William finish.
The
Sorry about
$1,200 a month rent would be applicable to someone a single person making $40,000. That will be considered the rental that they could actually afford to pay.
The one bedroom?
The one bedroom.
Yeah, and the two bedroom?
I think it's
1,700.
So that
With no
household-
laundry in the facility.
okay, I think that's gonna be a condition that he's not unaware of at this point. We're going a long time. Commissioner McBoyd, do you have another comment?
I'm just trying to make sure that I understand the context of the project correctly. If I am looking at the site right, on the north side, the building has 10 feet of setback, and then I believe it is parking facing it on somebody else's property the whole length. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the same on the east side, the setback there is,
Setting a bad precedent.
looks like 12 feet maybe, if I'm reading it right, or 10 or 12, somewhere in that range. And that's all parking facing the building also, again, not on the property.
Yes.
So, and then the parking on the site is facing the building. So 3 sides of it have parking all around it, cars all around it.
The other side.
Maybe a 10-foot strip with, if this is above and beyond our usual landscaping requirements, I guess I would ask all of us, would you want to raise kids in that? And a 2-bedroom apartment, there are going to be some kids in that. Where are they supposed to play? Where are they supposed to hang out? Those little, the geometric sidewalk thing is very nice, but it's going to be a pain in the neck for somebody hauling their groceries along there to wander back and forth. And that's not how people walk. And it doesn't give you any useful play space. And that side of the building is right on Boutwell Road. It's depressing, I would say.
You know what, a trailer park is more affordable than this project.
A trailer park is more affordable and offers way more green space.
But this is not trailer park.
Well, I understand that it's not, but in terms of thinking about different housing possibilities, I'm not seeing this as I don't see why would we'd be asked to even back off of our, there's more impermeable space, there's less setback, and I don't see that we're providing something for families or much of anything.
I have to say that I do like this project. Some of the merits are there, again, based on the laws that and the rules that we have in place. So I'm not going to punish the developer or the architect. I think there could be improvements, and the architect's hearing us loud and clear on what some of those conditions are. And I would definitely want the developer here on the second reading.
Yeah. So do I have a motion?
Can you guys list off usually Aaron takes the notes on what our conditions are for us.
No pressure, Aaron.
You've got the 2 extra
Laundry room.
conditions that, let's start with the 2 extra conditions that the planning and zoning board recommended. I think are totally appropriate.
Bike rack and dog bags.
Also recommended that the laundries be in.
What about a mural?
You recommended that doorbell, security system, that we
Ring.
have other ones, security cameras, appropriate lighting.
EV charging station, if they can.
If they can, it's not required under the code.
I know that.
But keep it, and this is where we're struggling, is that we have a requirement in our code. If a parking lot has more than 24 spaces, which this just barely necessitates that. You're required to have an EV station or electric charging station. But let's keep in mind, if we're trying to keep it to be an affordable project, the cost of electric cars is not cheap. So we're sending a conflicting message that we would like, and we're trying to support affordable or attainable housing. But that housing comes at a cost if we want all the other things that we've been talking about: higher quality architecture, additional green space, play areas, all of that. We can have that conversation later, but we can't, unfortunately, get everything we want in an affordable project without a subsidy coming from somewhere.
Understood.
So I think that's all the extra things that you all had enumerated that you wanted.
That's all.
The laundry, you got the laundry.
Yeah.
Some sort of green space that.
Well, they don't have any room. They don't have any room. I mean, I lived on 10th Avenue North when I got out of law school for a year at the apartments right across from the Presidente. I was on the 3rd floor and, I mean, I didn't have kids, but I mean, there wasn't really no green space. I mean, you looked out on the nature area in the back, but there wasn't any playground. This is
not saying even.
This is a pretty small project, you know, space wise. Right. So, okay, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve with the conditions as listed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes,
Two opposed?
we're not raising, we're setting a precedent to create less than housing with amenities. This provides none.
But we're also trying to be affordable and create new housing stock and.
This unit is.
Imagine if it had money. Okay, so let's move on. Thank you very much. And we do want to have I mean, I'm a little, I think we're all a little disturbed that the developer is here, not here. On
I almost made a motion to pull it.
Yeah,
I did.
I have to say, I would
I
not.
mean, it was unanimous. There was no affected party. It went through planning and zoning, unanimously we asked for a dog.
Right, a dog
I
bag.
mean, I
I know.
understand why the developer might think.
Desperation for new development.
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry, what was that 4-1, 3-2? It was hard to hear what the vote was.
It was 3-2. It was Commissioner McVoy and Vice Mayor Robinson.
It was girls versus boys.
Thank you.
You're doing the laundry.
Okay, thank you very much.
And we'll thank you, everybody, and we'll make sure to have the developer here for the second hearing, and I will be there in the flesh.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you very much.
thank you to all of you.
Take care. Good night. Thank you.
Take care. Good night.
Madam Mayor.
Oh, yeah, please.
Since it's having a second reading, I think it's gonna be coming back the second meeting in March. I think it's March 16th,
Okay,
so the public can know and.
right.
know.
All right, then. Here we go. Unfinished business, resolution 2022, unfinished business. Thank you, Mary. Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution 8, 2022, amending the city commission's rules of procedure. Do I have a motion? Discuss, or what do you want?
Motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
We have a date to enact this procedure.
Attorney.
It's in effect 10 days after?
To initiate it. To practice it.
Generally going to affect right after this meeting.
Right.
So we can set a date anytime after tonight,
Set a date for what?
exercising the procedure.
Our next meeting?
Yeah, our next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I mean, we'll address the vacancies.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, who made the second?
Commissioner Malega, I believe.
I can't
I
remember that.
thought she made the motion.
I made the motion.
Commissioner Stokes, I believe, seconded it. Okay, it was, I got
Thank
that
you.
one right. Thank you. Okay.
Sorry.
New business. Which is the WGI task order number 26 for the FDOT local agency project 448301-1-58. Mr. Brown,
Good evening, Madam Mayor.
thank you.
For the record, Jamie Brown, Public Works Director. The item I'm bringing forward tonight is work order number 26 with Wallman Group. This is for a project back in 2020. The Public Works grant writing staff successfully put it, by the way, it's me.
I was gonna say.
That's why I smiled. I'm like,
We have a fine staff on that one.
how do we borrow them?
Successfully got awarded 2 different grants through the Palm Beach County Transportation Planning Agency. One was for $4.6 million for their local initiatives program, which is going to be an East Coast and H project, which isn't gonna be construction until 2027, but obviously years prior to that, there's gonna be a lot.
And what is that project?
So we're basically looking at doing converting the East Coast and H to 2 one-way pairs. So we can actually make it more of a complete streets project is basically what it is.
So one will be one way and the other will be the other.
Correct. So H Street would be one way northbound, East Coast would be one way southbound.
Which will also help us with all those cars that are parked everywhere.
Correct. And then also addressing 7th, 8th, and basically from Lake all the way down. So all the side streets as well.
Okay.
So it's that whole rectangular block. So
Well, thank you for writing grants. Thank you for bringing money to the city.
Yeah, so that's
Thank
gonna be that's gonna be a big one. And then the other one, goes to the TA, Transportation Alternatives Project, which is the one that we're bringing forward right now. And that's basically $914,000. The minimum was 250 up to $1 million, and the other one was 250 up to $5 million. So I tried to maximize as much as possible. So this one we got awarded $914,000, and this is for citywide ADA improvements because we're with the bond program.
Yeah.
We only got to tackle about 36. So there's still a lot of ADA issues that are outstanding, and this is going to basically correct all of those that are still out there right now. So,
All of them?
all of them, 4 districts, a total of 418 locations.
Wow.
Starting with District 3.
But this doesn't include handicap parking, correct?
This is not related to parking.
Okay, this is just the ramps.
Correct. This
on
is
the-
the
on the
ramps
curbs.
and associated sidewalk that goes
Right.
along with those. Some of them, it's just the ramp itself. Some of them, in order to make the actual slope correct, we're gonna have to go back a couple flags.
Yeah.
So it might be 5 on one on the other, none on some. But it's 418 different locations through all 4 districts.
That's amazing.
So this is gonna be a big thing.
Yeah,
Motion to approve.
thank you.
So what this is for is the actual engineering and design work with WGI to actually do all of the soft costs work that's associated with the project. It's a DOT lab project. So cultural resource assessment, there's all these things that obviously go along with any type of DOT lab project. So this is kind of encompassing all of that.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Are there any public comments, which I forgot to ask on the last issue?
Hmm.
Are there any public comments, Madam Clerk?
There are not, I would have piped up if there had been.
You would have, but you always have to,
Second.
I remember. So we have a motion for Commissioner Lago, a second for Vice Mayor Robinson, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to number B, Resolution 12-2022, authorizing the city to reimburse itself for expenditures incurred from projects. I'm sorry?
I just wanted to ask our Public Works Director if the gas company can address the sidewalks that they have finished digging up and repair them before they finish their total project of gas piping.
Yeah, so what they're doing is as they're moving along, they're putting back temporary,
Yes.
as you've seen all over the place.
But so the concrete that they've dug up, can they address that before they finish their project?
Before they finish the project, because
Yeah.
what they've been doing is they're doing it, finishing everything up, and then they're gonna come back and do it all at one time throughout the entire city.
So they,
And that has to all be signed off on by us before they actually can leave. So we've got a lot of calls, are they gonna leave it like this? Like, no, that's just a temporary repair. They will be required to come back and in locations where there are a lot of plots where they've done so many,
Mhm.
they're gonna have to replace the entire.
Like a patchwork quilt.
Correct. Yeah, we're not gonna allow them just to come back and put little stretches here and there. They're gonna have to do the entire stretch.
so we are gonna have to wait until they finish all their digging.
Correct. Correct. 'Cause
Otherwise you have to dig it back up again.
No, they're finished digging. They've got the pipes under there. They could be repairing the sidewalks as they go.
I know they're close. I don't believe they're finished yet. I'll go with our project manager tomorrow. But that is something that obviously we're in constant contact with them and that will have to get signed off by us before they leave. So if anyone thinks that it's being left as is,
No.
that's not.
That's not my point. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, do we have a motion? Do we have a motion?
Motion approved.
We already did all that.
We did all that.
Yes.
All in favor?
That too. Aye.
Thank you very much.
Aye.
We did everything?
Yes.
Thank you.
You know, I'm so glad I.
Sorry, that was so fast, Madam Mayor, that I completely did not hear who made the motion and the second.
I made the motion.
Sarah Malaga made the motion and Commissioner Stokes made.
Herman seconded.
Robinson seconded it. Okay.
All sorry, I didn't hear that. Who seconded it?
Vice Mayor Robinson seconded it.
Okay,
Second.
thank you.
Thank you. I'm moving faster than I thought we were. Now we're at 2022-02, first reading, amending the advisory board appointment process. No.
We skip B.
What?
Resolution number 12-22,
Yeah,
B.
Give him his
It's
mic.
gone again?
Andre wants it.
the bond one.
B?
B, boy.
Okay, I thought, see, now I'm faster than you guys. Okay, 12-2022, authorizing the city, to reimburse itself for expenditures incurred from projects including upcoming bond authorization.
Correct.
Thank you.
For the record, under McAdam Controller. This is similar to another resolution that we brought back in December, since we're closer to potential issuance. We're gonna come again to get the approval to reimburse in case there are any soft costs that come up before the project gets started. So this is just commission saying that we can, the departments can reimburse themselves from bond proceeds, for anything that comes up prior to.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a
Second.
Okay, any public comments, Madam Clerk? I'm trying to train myself.
No, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you very much. Thank you.
Sorry for that.
Yeah, really. Fascinating, the fascinating. So now we are, now we're on ordinance 2202, first reading, amending the advisory board appointment process. And do we have, do you want to speak to this? Matt, Sir Attorney?
Just read the title.
Read the title.
Ordinance 2202 is ordinance of the city of Lakewood, East Lawn, amending the trustees for the ordinance. Chapter 2, administration, Article 1, general, on section 2-9, resident requirements. Words are not created by the legislative process. To rename section 2-9 entitled City Board Appointment Process, Terms of Office, and Residence Requirement. And by creating them in the new appointment process for all members of city boards, changing the terms of office to unspecified terms for all newly appointed board members, and including the provision of current residence requirement for members of city boards, repealing section 2-12, appointment of members of city boards in terms of office, branch, severability, repealable, conflict, not based on any effective date. And I should have said something when Jamie was here. Congratulations on the grant.
He's right there.
Yeah, he's there.
Congratulations on the grant, Jamie.
That's good.
That's what we like. Bring that money home. And you're succeeding. That's the important part. Thank you very much. Do I have any discussion?
I just have, I have one question. On some of these boards, it is interesting to me that we don't ask for financial disclosures. And how do we go about making certain that the ones that should have that do on some of these boards? Because there are some times where you have to have, I think the Planning and Zoning Historical Board have to have financial disclosures, but the Finance Advisory Board doesn't.
We have no power.
It's an advisory.
Yeah, I mean, that's my impression of it. Like planning and zoning actually can
It's
make
quasi
decisions,
judicial.
right? Where
So
all
does
our
it-
advisory boards, they're giving us advice.
Does the CRA have that financial advice? Does anyone know what their guidelines are? I don't have it in front of me. I just want us to be mindful when we are going through the new appointments that if it has something to do with monetary, I mean, yeah, the financial advisory board doesn't make decisions, but if somebody claimed bankruptcy twice, I might not want them on my financial advisory. You know what I mean?
But president discriminate.
Just saying, we need to be mindful when we do the boards, what their real
So just,
are.
well, I mean, do you want to add that?
I think.
Mr. Attorney?
That's reasonable.
And you have, this is your.
Do we have the authority to ask
Right,
for
this is
that?
your overall ordinance. You do have your specific resolutions creating different boards. So you could look at specific boards like National Advisory Board and add some requirements.
Change that.
And
Okay,
it may not be as detailed as the planning and zoning.
right.
Maybe it is, it's your choice. It's the
Okay.
kind of details you want.
So we have the authority to do it. It's not.
Okay.
And I have one other question on section 2.9B. It appears that anyone can be removed from any board at any time with no reason. And I just want to confirm that that's what we're talking about.
Without,
Upon the adoption, so all newly appointed board members shall be appointed, the newly member shall be appointed by the city commission for an unspecified term, shall serve solely at the pledge of the commission, and may be removed from their appointment at any time without the cause. So my understanding is the people that are currently on the board are not subject to that removal because they did not get appointed under that
but the new people will be.
New people will be.
Except for the CRA.
Right.
The CRA
because it's state.
statute that deals with how
Right.
they have 4-year terms.
Okay.
Then the CRA and your grandfather or grandmother and people depending on how you want to call
That are
it.
here now, right?
And now that you brought up the CRA, it also says that each person who serves on any city board created on section C shall either maintain a bona fide residence in the city, own a business having a permanent location in the city, or be the principal stockholder of a corporation or any other business entity having a permanent business location in the city. I want to make sure that the people who are on this board are okay with that, because if we have people who are just business owners or just landowners, or they own a part of a business, but they don't live here, that we're still going to entertain their application to sit on a board.
So that's the way it always has been.
I understand that, but I'm not gonna bring up bad points, but when I had my point with the CRA, it was, she doesn't live here, she's a business owner. So, I mean, we need to be real clear. If we don't want people who only solely own businesses and land, we need to take this out.
I don't want to, but I don't think that's consensus. That's my personal preference.
You don't want what?
People who don't live here making important decisions for the city.
So even though somebody might have $3 million invested here
Right.
as a
That's my
business
personal
owner.
preference.
Okay, no, that's what I'm asking. No, that's what I'm asking.
Right.
I would also prefer the residential requirement rather than just business. I think it's a different involvement with the city. It's different, for lack of a better term, skin in the game. I think correctly point out that we may have a looser requirement in our rules. We nevertheless can say that this is something that is important to us, and while it isn't required, it can enter into our decision making. Is that?
But that's not fair. For them even to go through the whole process of filling out the application and submitting all the required documentation to even be considered to be a board member. If the majority of the board doesn't want business owners, then we need to strike that from here.
I don't think it's correct to say that we don't want business owners. I don't think anybody has a problem with business owners, but business owners who reside in the city is different from business owners who reside outside the city.
Well, this is interesting, and it's certainly something to think about, but I mean, frankly, I'd rather have somebody who has skin in the game in terms of financial than somebody that, moves into Lake Worth and now they have now they got an apartment and now they're here. Now I'm looking for somebody with more of a commitment to that thing. Being a resident itself, I don't think makes you qualified. Owning it, maybe, it says permanent business.
What's permanent located? That's
Well,
language, but
yeah, but it's been there forever and it's worked.
We're all gonna bring our own judgment together when we're entertaining who we want to appoint, and we're not all gonna always agree on every single issue. If
Well,
this is something that's important to me, if it's not important to other people, then we'll deal with that at the time of the interviews and the appointments, when we look at all of the candidates and how they're qualified and.
can we get, in that vein, can we get clarification? If our requirement is looser, that it says you don't have to be a resident in the city, is there any problem with differing views on the board that some people might say, look, that's my preference, so I'm going to choose not to vote for this person? Is there any? I hear Commissioner Blagut's
And just in the
point
sense
that-
of time, I don't understand why we would do that.
You'll have the perception issue, I think, is more than the legal issue. I mean, yes, it's your board, you're appointing, you have a lot of discretion. These are your guidelines, but your hands aren't tied.
Right.
I mean, Melinda Gates bought a building here and decided she wanted to serve on a board. My guess is we'd probably say yes. But maybe I picked the wrong person, if it's just Mahatma Gandhi. But if there's some person who brings a lot to the table and they have to own a business.
Let's say Serena Williams wants to open a tennis center here, but yet she lives in Jupiter. We would say.
On a CRA board. It's
No,
not.
I said board. No, I didn't say CRA. This is for any board.
This is for every board.
This is for every board.
And
Just
I see,
CRA.
listen, I completely see both sides of the argument. And there's no, I don't think there's a correct answer here. I think it's just this is the way it's been. I have some issues with somebody that has a little business but doesn't live here, and there's a couple of people that come to mind, but do we want to change it? Vice Mayor Robinson.
Thank you. I have a large issue with that because there is a commitment when you have skin in the game as a business owner. And I thought that we were going to change the process of appointments back when we had an opportunity, and here we are 2.5 months later, a long time ago. And I'm sorry that I had expectations. The idea that boards are going to be so political that we're going to remove them if they aren't in sync with, I'm going to say, a 3-2 vote. I find that very unsettling in terms of expectation of city consistency. We are going to be knee-jerking from one election to another, and then knee-jerk the boards. So the democracy has to be expressed very judiciously when citizens volunteer to serve. I don't think we should be in the kangaroo court of throwing people off boards over one issue.
I was under the impression that we were going to give them a 1-year term so that every year they could reapply as we do the interview processes and not just like
Make them
in the
reapply
office,
every
see
year.
you later.
Is that what we're doing, or I thought the mayor expressed the understanding that we would,
Yeah. You're right, it's on there.
that we would be able to remove at any, you know,
It says without cause.
yeah, and
That's what it
that, I cannot vote for that, and I cannot vote for discriminating against a investor because they don't fit in the city.
I agree with you. No, I thought we had discussed 1 year
Oh, okay.
previously. I know, because I know we didn't want to, some boards had 3-year terms, 4-year terms.
And those we can, like the attorney said, we can handle each board as we
Right.
go.
But, so are the terms changing in here?
We don't touch the terms. Each board has its own term. We would go through each board.
No, I think there was this issue, the issue, I hear Commissioner Robinson, that you don't want to bounce things around too crazily from one election to another. However, there also was a feeling when there's a fairly major change in the flavor of a commission, and you have a lot of folks on different boards that come from a different flavor, and people in the community feel like, hey, we're not being represented. What happened? We voted for a change and it doesn't happen. And my understanding, I believe from Ms. Godot, was people have a property right once they're appointed if you give them fixed terms. And so we can't remove them. And this, I believe, is an approach. I don't know that it's the only approach or the best, but an approach to give commissions some flexibility.
Right.
Now, maybe a more medium approach that doesn't swing so widely would be to give everybody 1-year appointments that they have to reapply for,
And
give us a chance to.
And that's why the interview process with the commission is so much more open and
We're
transparent.
doing that. That's.
Yeah, that I think we all agree that that's good.
There's certain things I like about it, and there's certain things I don't. I'm sorry, I can't accept it. in
But
total.
we do the
In
1
terms
year?
of, in terms of the property interest, correct me if I'm wrong, this would change that. This would take away that property interest. The property interest is there because it's maybe a yearly term would be the answer.
You have a variety of ways, obviously, you've struggled with this for a while. It could be the way it is now, which is proposed to do, which is without cost. You could in-house.
Not acceptable to me.
You could appoint 10 people today, and next week there's an election. There's 10 people in office. That could be one option, which is what this is. Or you could have an option to address, Mr. Robinson, Vice Mayor Robinson's concerns that says you can only remove without cause upon a supermajority vote or votes. If you want to try and soften it, or you could say you can remove without cause, but that's a minimum of 6 months, 1 year, 3. There's a whole range of how you can solve this dilemma. This was the approach that we thought the commission wanted, which was we all came into office and we were somewhat frustrated that we did not have the ability to, I don't want to say the word clean house, that's not right, but
To reappoint.
to reappoint and make changes where you all thought was appropriate. So this gives you that authority with all new appointments going forward. And I think once before we talked about this, that also would say in the future, you know, Commissioner Robinson's now running again. Whoever that person is could come in and say, well, I want to make some changes on people that he recommended or he voted. So it's always tough when you start talking about making these kind of changes, because you're inviting someone to say, let's make changes.
Yeah.
And if it sits as it is written now with, you know, without cause, they can be removed without cause. Do we say anything about what we have to do as a commission to remove these poor people summarily?
No, you just simply walk in today and say, I want to make a motion. I want to remove Sammy from this board.
But then there would have to be some sort of vote. I've got to convince my.
Yeah, this
fellow
doesn't talk
commissioners that
about
I
it.
haven't lost
It's, well, no, it
time.
says right here, the removal of any newly appointed board member shall be by the appointment of a new replacement board member by the city commission. However, all board members are eligible for reappointment. So we wouldn't be able to remove Jane unless we had John, who was gonna go in and fill those shoes.
Yeah.
And that's by voting and interviewing.
Yeah, but let's say there's somebody that a person in the board that you, for whatever reason, don't appreciate. You're gonna have the interviews, but the way that, it's like putting the cart before the horse.
Right.
You're gonna have to declare an opening and have the interviews, and this guy sitting on the board go, wait, on the
You may
board.
want to change
Yeah.
a couple of words.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Maybe
Yeah.
this time at any time without cause. And then after removal, then rather than saying the removal shall be, say, upon removal, then it shall be filled.
But it doesn't say if the city, it's not clear on how you get removed. If we're gonna go this route, this is shall serve for the commission.
Is
And
it your John letter? Is it like you just take your name off?
Is it, well, let me ask, it's, you know, is it the person that appointed that person gets to remove that person?
Except we're not doing that.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
just saying,
yeah,
that,
no, I agree.
you know, is it a majority of the board that says,
Or if
well,
they live in your district, you gotta do the job, you gotta do the dirty job and call them.
well, this does give us the public interview that we were looking for.
We all like that, I think.
Mhm.
I think I agree with you, Mayor, that separating the idea that you can only remove somebody when you've got the second person.
Yeah, that-
Ready to slide them, I don't think that makes
Yeah.
sense. Separate those two things. But then we do have to specify, okay, what do we have to do?
Well, it would be maybe.
We all, a majority vote,
Well-
a super majority vote,
In this, and maybe remove from their appointment at any time without cause by a fill in the blank vote of the commission, super vote of the minute, right?
Right, supermajority vote.
So that's gotta be noodled with.
We've all sat here and said, oh, we're just getting used to the job after a year. And we're going to expect a volunteer to come in and serve all, I consider all the boards important. Maybe, you know, I don't have consensus on that, but all the boards are important to me.
They are, why would they not be
Some have
consensus?
more decision-making power than others.
Yeah.
That's all I was saying.
They're all influential and they all need to have experience in working with the other board members and the commission and the community. I don't like removing politically.
I think 2
It may
years
not,
is.
you know, you're taking a very cynical view. I don't know that there would be, like, even with our situation, a big, you know, if there's a board member who's like disruptive to, you know, impedes the process of the board, that's the kind of thing that I'm.
Doesn't show up for meetings.
Well, there's a rule
Attorney handles that.
about that. But maybe the answer is a one-year appointment.
I don't think I don't think that we should ask people to have to come up and interview every year. I mean, wouldn't 2 years, our elections are every 3. Every 2 years, having, you know, that reappointment, I think is good because we just approved a project that's been in the works since 2020.
Right.
I mean, we're already 1 year into our term and I can't imagine having to reapply and rerun and do all that again.
well, it's a little bit different process for running.
Except a PhD board or a CRA, or I mean, there's
There's a lot
knowledge. Yeah,
behind it.
those are technical boards.
I would point out that I was around and on the commission when previous commission did summarily put out the whole planning and zoning board.
And you didn't stop it?
What's that?
And you didn't stop it?
I presumably voted, I assume, I don't remember, but it did happen because of exactly this kind of concern, that there was a feeling that the board that was there didn't represent the views of the people coming in. Which I think is not a totally unreasonable thing, whether it's our views or somebody else's views. I think some degree of ability to change things is reasonable.
To be locked in.
How fast you want it to track the elections, I think our attorney is suggesting, well, maybe buffer it a little bit with a year. Give them a year appointment.
Or
Yes,
make it a
does have the
supermajority.
disadvantage, you have to reapply, but it does give some buffering. Otherwise, do it the way we've said, that, it's got to be with cause or without cause, that it's without cause, but it does have to have at least a majority vote of the commission, which will put a damper on it also.
Yeah.
I come in one day with, some crazy idea that Joe's got to go. And you guys all look at me like, you're nuts. We're not voting for that. Joe's fine. And I think, that provides quite a bit of buffering.
Supermajority. And I'm hoping
make it a
we can come to an understanding tonight because of the time that we've spent waiting to fill vacancies already. This is going on and up.
Issue. I think that's a timing.
All right, do I have a motion?
I would make a motion to keep the without cause and to require a majority vote for removal.
Do I have a second?
What about the residents thing?
Yeah.
Oh,
Nobody's suggesting that we change that.
yeah, that's,
I'm okay
that's
with
the way it is
leaving the
now.
language
That's
as
what it
it
is
is.
now.
I'm going to bring my opinions, like everybody's gonna bring their opinions to the interview process.
Yeah.
Well, can we put a limit on the amount of skin? I mean.
Depends how big the person is. Some of us have more skin than others.
The mobile food truck is a different business owner than
They have mobile skin.
a major
Well, all right.
skin.
You're right, you always have discretion.
Right, you can just say that's not what we're looking
Food
for.
Truck owner may be the greatest volunteer in the world, and attending every city event where a multi-million-dollar owner of a piece of property.
Never seen it.
I'm trying to offer a compromise to include that.
But that's in there, that's what we,
Included.
that's, I think, why, give me a minute. I think that's the reason that we change the way boards are appointed.
Right.
That we do that sort of screening out and deciding what our priorities are when those people apply for the boards and the group interview is being done, which is going to be done, when an appointment is empty or at least twice a year. So I think, screen them up front as part of it. And if somebody comes up and there's two people and by whatever they tell us, we feel by a 3 or 4, vote that they are the more appropriate person. I hate to see us I have some issues with both sides of that. So I think but that's where I think we weed out or not weed out,
Yeah.
but make that consideration.
I would agree with that. And that was my experience, having been through that version of the process.
And that's what we did. And we
It
ended up,
sorted itself
Yeah.
quite well.
When are we gonna be doing these appointments? Because, I was shut down months ago and,
I have a person on the historic.
okay, but I'm not, when are we gonna start this process? Because we've been talking about,
Started we've had, as soon as we get a resolution.
I see that city.
Yeah. Oh, you got a light.
Even.
She found her light.
You can wave your light without cause, with cause.
Hate to be so dramatic, but
That's okay.
I'm excited that a decision will be made because we are struggling with some of our
Correct.
Quorums.
Yes, with quorum. And particularly, I'm very nervous regarding our finance
Yeah.
advisory board because we're about to approach the budget year.
Yes, ma'am.
And we really want them involved in that process. And right now we are we're experiencing a lack of quorum because one, we don't have enough members on that board. And it's taxing on those who are serving now to have the pressure of attending. And sometimes we have those conflicts with the existing members attending. which is causing a lack of a quorum.
So when,
I think we had
when's that date
If
gonna
we
be?
can get this, going as soon as possible.
Yeah.
we would-
All right, did somebody make a motion?
And I'm a little, and I
I
just
think there was a motion.
got to say that I'm a little nervous with some of our existing board members and our future development.
Except we recognize that the existing ones, this doesn't apply one way or the other, so.
Right.
that-
They're exempt from this.
Okay,
So-
that's
so there was a
fine.
motion and a second. I don't know who did it.
There's a motion by Commissioner McVoy adding the requirement for majority vote to remove without cause.
Thank you.
I
Did
did
you
not hear a
say,
second, though.
did you say super majority?
No, majority.
No, simple
Do I
majority.
have a second?
Second.
No,
Does that include the separation that you talked about before between the removal of the newly appointed board member shall be by the appointment? You wanted to separate that, so removal of
Right.
one thing and
Right.
bring it over to somebody else, okay?
whatever language is.
Or make a, replacement board member shall be within.
I'll play with the language, I just wanted to make sure that was
Yes.
included in your motion.
Yeah.
Obviously making it political, can we suggest that it's acceptable to be a super majority?
I would prefer to keep it a majority.
No.
Me too.
That's a pretty simple political majority. That's 3 votes.
Well, they can't talk, we can't talk to each other. I mean, it would be something that would come up by someone to be discussed and voted on.
Well, and it's.
We have a motion in a second. I really think.
Super majority. I'll vote against it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
The board's filled.
Now. Discussion.
Regarding a policy for the city as a landlord. It's on mine anyhow.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, number D.
Number D.
I'm tired. Letter D, number 5. 4. There's nothing in the book. It's just a
It's- yeah,
discussion.
there's no
Okay.
backup for it.
It's just a,
Just says
it's
we're
just a
having-
D.
Right, okay, no backup. Discussion.
Another discussion.
Discussion regarding a policy for the city as a landlord. I am.
There's my discussion.
Table this. Can
Me
I?
too. Second.
I can't, no, I can't make a motion.
Okay, I motion to table. Not prepared to have this conversation.
When will we be prepared to establish a policy, a procedure, a process?
Is there a second to the motion?
Into the business of landlord.
I'll second.
All in favor of tabling it?
Aye.
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 I'm not.
Two names.
Can we,
Sorry.
15 minutes?
City attorney's report. Yes.
And I have one thing that I forgot before I do let the city attorney and the city manager. I was supposed to do some comments, but I did not. Madam Clerk, and you did not remind me. This regards, this is a good thing. This is a message from the Lakewood Beach City Commission. I'm going to ask you all to follow it and sign it tonight. It is our sincere pleasure to welcome you to the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, to celebrate Palm Beach Pride, produced by Compass Community Center each year. We are truly grateful for your continued efforts to ensure that everyone can live open, fulfilling, and honest lives free of bias, stigma, and discrimination, and as equal partners in the cultural and civic life of our great city by the beach, and in communities throughout South Florida. Diversity is the bedrock upon which we work to build better communities, and this annual celebration represents our united commitment to call all of LGBTQ community members that contribute to the unique, eclectic city that we call home. This celebration also honors our partnership with Compass and gives us all the opportunity to reflect on the progress that has been made over the years, and to honor each and every person who will stand up for justice. Please accept our best wishes for an enriching and successful festival and parade as you renew and strengthen your commitment to our shared vision of equality under the law for all Americans. Sincerely, the Lake Worth Beach City Commission. We all.
That's my pen.
Now,
This is a place for everyone.
that is going in Compass's Pride directory as basically as a front welcome to.
Thank you.
Maybe.
Here.
Sign by your name, Chris.
Okay.
Not supposed to sign where the mayor's is.
Oh, no.
Just Christopher.
I'm just.
Such a kidder she is, such a kidder.
let me just, and I can provide one of those. Whoa.
You're getting like me. I'm trying to get my signature like more normal.
We know what.
Never see Art Carney.
Is that like, you guys gotta go home now?
He doesn't know who Art Carney is.
Art
Is
Carney.
that a
she's
name?
What?
young, she's young.
I was gonna go, remember the skit with the signing?
Know who Art Carney is?
Yeah.
The honeymooners.
Yes, with Jackie Gleason.
It's not ringing a bell.
Jackie, it's black and white. Jackie Gleason was the bus driver and his wife was, can't remember her name.
Jane Meadows.
There you go.
To the moon.
Good, Alice.
We could not get away with
We're
that.
not playing Jeopardy again.
Okay, I'm
Great.
gonna give this.
Thank you. Thank you.
We can pass this to the city manager who can give it to the city clerk. That would be great.
We'll do so.
Wonderful.
All right, now we are at
Motion to adjourn.
only 9 o'clock.
Oh.
What?
City Attorney's report.
You have a city attorney's report and city manager's report. We're not leaving them out.
Well, we don't want to talk about anything else. I thought we'd do all.
Oh, stop it, Herman.
Attorney.
There was legislation passed last night by the legislature that anyone who doesn't know who Art Carney is must watch.
Oh, my God.
Other than that, go with the report.
Thank you. City manager.
Can we get a copy of that legislation?
Very brief, and I could have mentioned that when we were talking about grants, and I thought about it. Want to let you know, I did send you the week 6 report for our lobbyists concerning the legislative updates. And I just want to highlight, when we talked about grants, that good news in the process. We did receive the Department of Environmental Protection Resilient Florida grant program, grant of $600,000. And that's for 2 flood stormwater projects, the South Park sea level rise mitigation and the Eaton Place sea level rise mitigation. And so those were fully funded through the newly created Resilient Florida Grant Program.
Okay.
And that was announced last week.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
$100,000 for both those projects.
That's great.
Fabulous.
That's great.
So that's great. That's great.
Right, what we're looking at.
Yeah,
Right where we're
so I
looking.
wanted to add that to the list of issues as we talked about the
Thank you.
legislative update.
Thank you.
But that concludes my report.
That's it.
All right. Do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I think it needs to be a super majority, but okay.